Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 89th live stream for the Misfit Gamer Studios. I'm your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. On today's homebrew review, we have Shadow Monarch, a subclass for Wizard submitted by drabz. So we are finally getting some new content in. It's been kind of nice. You were out last week, so we kind of just didn't really get one of these, but it is nice to be back with a submission. We have no official updates for today. We will let some people, trickle in as we normally do. But otherwise, how's it going? Oh, you know what? I just realized I have not... We were talking all this time. I didn't get your camera set up. So let me do that while you just chit-chat with people.
Of course. Shalom, my friends. Welcome. I am so happy to be back in the studio. Yeah, it's a good time out here. We are making waves out here. Oh, hello there. What's this? Hexgate?
Hecate, what up?
Hecate, there we go. See, I'm terrible at pronouncing these names. All right, I know mine's one of the worst.
I mean, I'm terrible at pronouncing names. I'm pretty sure I still get Huelepa's name wrong to this day.
I feel like that's right.
I think it's right, but I have no idea. They tried to, and I feel like they wanted to be nice, so they just said yeah, that's fine. I'm pretty sure that's what happened because I tried to make sure I got it right, and I don't think I ever did. But
this is drabz. What's up, good sir?
Oh.
Okay, they changed their name. I like it.
Wow. So should we...
You want to update the Discord?
Yeah, we're going to have to update the Discord. All right.
Cool. Can do, will do.
God, that's the downside when y'all do that is we have to now completely... all of our memories are with drabz. And now it's every memory of that is going to have to now be Hecate.
Fortunately, when I change your nickname, I believe it changes all your former posts. So whenever I look at your old stuff...
At least that'll be helpful. Oh, and we can also update the leaderboard.
I will say currently it's going to still say drabz for today. Drabz is the
Obviously,
author.
Did know.
But from now on, and we can retroactively change them if you like, to something new. I was wondering why this wasn't a first time chatter because I was like, I did not see this name before. I was like, this is not familiar.
But hey, we're catching on to stuff like that. We're paying attention. We're like, right. Not a first time chatter. That's important.
All right, where are you at, my friend? Had Hecate before, but never updated my Twitch for a long time. Gotcha.
Pretty sure it's Hecate, right? If we're getting that right, Hecate? I don't know. It's been so long because if I'm trying to remember, I don't know.
It's fair. Very fair. Boop.
It's a problem with name changes, but that's okay. We'll get through it.
We making it work. I got you. Boom. Discord is... Wait, where'd you go?
So you're going to get that updated. We have everything. Oh, it's pretty much updated. Well, at least you are here for your review.
Yes, the muy most important. I'm very excited for this review, by the way. Solo Leveling, I watched the anime. I had never read the manga or anything like that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are telling me read the manga. It's way better, all the above. But
the MCF Solo Leveling?
Yes.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's a fairly new anime. To be fair, it's fairly new. It's newer than even Jujutsu Kaisen and all those other ones. Mm. So a lot of what it is going to be based upon just the first season that got released, unless again. Hecate, you're way more read up on the manga or whatever else. So
did you watch Naruto?
I watched Naruto.
Okay,
I didn't watch all of Naruto.
Do you know how the teacher's name was pronounced?
Kakashi.
The last name.
Ooh.
Because that's how he says to pronounce it. Is that teacher's name is how you pronounce it?
I'm gonna look that up now. Okay. I'm gonna look that up.
Let me know how. Thank you for that. If you've seen the show, then you might be know how to pronounce that for us.
Legit.
Because I'm pretty sure I get everybody's name wrong. I just assume I get everyone's name wrong and everyone's just being nice to me. So I just relax. It's fine.
It's fine. Let me think about it. There we go. I gotta do that. There we go.
Yeah, I don't think we have any major updates. We do have a new road plan or a new roadmap for Misfit Gamer Studios and the stream. No major changes coming up anytime soon. But with affiliate right around the corner, have some plans, have some surprises for y'all. And yeah, I'm hoping by the end of this year we will expand the YouTube channel and start to get some actual non, or actual edited videos out there.
That would be
So
cool.
really what it's going to start with is just going through all of my content, editing down into, 10, 15, 30-minute episodes. Either an entire, stream down into that, or just trying to take out those bits.
Right.
When we either tangent off or when we actually discuss, individual topics, just kind of break those out into individual discussions. So yeah, that'll be fun. And then other than that, yeah, it's just planning for growth.
Yes.
The big things, though, that I will say, I think a couple of the big decisions that I'm currently thinking about right now for the roadmap is some name changes. Obviously, Misfit Gamer Studios is here to change, or is here to stay. That's not going to be changing at all. But both the name of the Twitch channel as well as the episode titles, I'm playing around with some new and different names for that. So keep an eye out in the Discord for some polls, because I may be reaching out to y'all to see what you guys think about some of the naming conventions, because just looking around YouTube and just looking at what we want to do in terms of scaling, the names that we have chosen for these episodes, such as D&D discussions, homebrew review, aren't the most unique, and it's not that it'll be that much of an issue, but between the algorithm, fighting against the algorithm with already established channels, using the same naming conventions, as well as us just wanting to stand out with something that's searchable that won't come up with anybody else. That's kind of what we're looking at. So we are planning for a much bigger future, and we might be changing up some of the naming conventions. So how that works out, we don't know. It may just be a naming convention change for YouTube. We may change it for the stream. We're not really sure, but we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Something happened on.
You talking about Discord?
Yeah, something happened on Discord.
Yeah. Hecate, they posted the song for the Shadow Monarch. I don't know if we'll be able to play it or not, but they gave us a link to something.
Okay, we'll have to check that out off string, unfortunately. That's the downside between YouTube and Twitch, especially because we're so close to affiliate, that we don't have to really worry about it right now because we're not monetized, but it is just something that we want to keep consistent with, so we'll have to be more mindful about where we source that information from, because some places it doesn't matter. We can stream from some locations, and some locations we can't. Like, even if the song is free,
interesting.
For instance, even if we have royalty-free songs, even if we are completely okay to use that particular song, you can't play it through Spotify, not on Twitch.
Interesting.
If I play music from Spotify on the stream,
what about from YouTube?
YouTube will also not like it when you play it from Spotify.
No, if you play YouTube music on Twitch.
I believe you can't do that either. Well, no, I think you can do that because most people can go to YouTube and just watch almost anything, right?
Okay.
But music streaming for background stuff, specifically for the TOS, we can't actually stream from Spotify.
Interesting.
So yeah,
good to know.
So that's just one of those things where it's I don't know all of the ins and outs of that. So
look it up first before we start messing with stuff.
I mean, I've already had one of my. I learned that the hard way because one of the YouTube episodes got hit for copyright, and I'm not even monetized. Yeah, well, it was just one of the ones that I did, but I was having music on in the background, and it was all free music, but it was on the wrong platform. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, so that episode basically had to get taken down. It was a nothing episode. It wasn't even D&D discussions. It was like a behind the scenes episode. So
okay.
It was when I got all of the gear and I did the unboxing of everything.
Oh, that one. Okay, yeah. Very nice.
So it wasn't a one I expected to save. It was just it was
a fun episode.
Yeah, it was a fun episode to do. I'm glad I did it. Kind of sucks I did it with only 10 followers that nobody watched, but it was a cool unboxing to when I put all of this the new setup together and everything. And
legit
got to show off what the rest of the studio actually looked like.
Cool. Cool.
That was fun. But it's just one of those things. The bigger we get, the more we actually have to pay attention to that stuff. And we're literally at 48 followers. So
Two away.
We are literally on
Let's
the cusp
go.
of actually having that kind of stuff matter. So even though it doesn't matter, I don't want to get into a bad habit.
That's fair. That's fair.
Not this close. We've been going a year. Let's just keep it consistent.
So they say that the lyrics were created by them and that the music and the instruments were created by AI.
Interesting. Okay.
Very cool.
I am going to be so interested to look at that.
That's kind of fire. I'm stoked to check that out. I have no idea what Suno is, but I'm guessing that's just like a music creating thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. What was that post? Okay, so that was in post and submission, so nobody else will be able to see that. If you're interested, though, post that in either the community chat or homebrewing. Would be kind of cool. I don't know. I would definitely like to see what other people think of that too.
Yeah.
If you're willing to share that, yeah. I mean, obviously you were willing to share it on the stream, but if you're willing to share that through the Discord, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would be very interested. I'm curious to see what the AI voice thing did.
Right.
Community chat would be fine if you want. Yeah, it does. I mean, because it's not really, you're not looking for a feedback. You just want to share it. So yeah, totally feel free to post that in the community chat. And if you're watching this and you want to go see the song that is going to accompany the subclass that we are about to review, that's what he said, right? It's for the subclass. Yeah. You guys can join our Discord and go check that out. So link in chat right now. And it was just posted. Check that out. All right. So, I think that was everything. I think we covered everything. The roadmap is going to be kind of interesting. We'll probably do a bigger update once we have some off-stream time to kind of talk about it, make some decisions.
More ironed out stuff.
And we will be posting some polls to see what y'all think about our decisions and what y'all would like. Again, we want to know what you guys are interested in or what you guys think is going to be a good move for us because it affects you as well. Mainly because if it's a bad move, you aren't going to be as interested, and I don't want that.
Exactly.
All right. So let me figure my shit out real quick. There we go. All right. So let us move on to today's review.
Higgity homebrew review.
Yep. All right, here we go. So, bam, it's been a long weekend. Why has it been a long weekend? There we go.
Facts, yes it has.
I don't even know why it's been such a long weekend for me. It's actually my short weekend. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's because it's my short weekend.
Because it hasn't been long enough.
I had to work earlier. You know what? That's it. It's usually because, last Monday I didn't even have to work, and now I had to work today. So it's that's why. My work Mondays are always messed up.
Rude.
All right, so we have today Warlock Subclass Shadow Monarch. Coming from us was once known as Drabz and now Hecate. I'm gonna have to get
95.
That's right. I'm gonna have to get that right a lot. All right. I think we did see something submitted there as well. So let's see here. Hang on a second. My fucking arms.
Check out my newest submission. I think I did. Did I see your newest submission? Let me. Oh my gosh. There we go. I have too many windows open on my computer. This is the problem. That's what my ADHD brain is trying to do all the things. Oh, it's for Shadow the Monarch.
So we're gonna keep on going with the one that we're doing because we still we made a. I don't know if you got to see Friday's stream, but we made an announcement for.
I think they were there at the end of it.
Oh yeah. I don't think. If you were at the end, you probably didn't get the update, but because we're still making decisions in terms of what we're going to be doing for branding on this and how we're going to be transitioning it. So. Originally, the idea for Homebrewery was that we just wanted to kind of see it because it was the something that Pokeniner had submitted. So we're going to keep with using Pokeniners for the next maybe 1 or 2, just to see how we like it and just to see, what from it we may want to take. But long-term wise, we're probably not going to be going with Homebrewery. So if you guys are interested, you guys want to use it, that's totally up to you guys. But yeah, we have a couple different ideas of how we want to go in terms of branding and formatting. So keep up to date with that stuff. But yeah, if you guys already have it in Homebrewery and you submit it, that's fine. But don't go out of your way to do anything with that.
Yeah, Homebrewery looks really nice for what it is, but when we try to display on screen and try and present it to people, we want to make sure they can see well.
Yeah, there's a lot of decisions going behind that. But yeah, so we're gonna continue going with this one, because even after we do maybe 1 or 2 more from Pokeniner, we may be backing off from using the Homebrewery links from that one too, just until we make some more bigger decisions on how we want to brand out and what we want to do. So yeah, but yeah, let's get into it.
I don't know if I prepared you for this, but there's a second portion of this. So this is the main class, and there's another document. You'll actually see the link in this later. It'll take you to basically a stat block for a part of this.
Okay. So there's going to be an addendum or an addition.
Yes, there's going to be another page you're going to have to go look at. That's just the stat block for one of the pieces of a feature of this class.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay. So here we go. Awesome. Okay, so we will open that up when we get to it, and hopefully it will be, hopefully it'll just format just fine. Okay, so back to Shadow of the Monarch. This is a Warlock subclass, and that's actually not something I don't think we haven't had a Warlock.
I think subclass. This is the first one,
which is really nice because I'm actually dreadfully unaware, like completely, of Warlock subclasses. It's not a class in 5th edition I've dabbled in. So I'm aware of the concept of it. Obviously, I know about it, but in terms of the subclasses, this may be one of those classes I just know almost nothing about in terms of subclass. So might need you to weigh in a little bit more if you know anything.
100%.
In terms of balancing, because I really just know the concept of where their power comes from. Mm-hmm. Like just the concept of the deal. And in my opinion, that's never really been like represented properly.
Yeah,
it's more of just a narrative and not really a thing. So I think that's also why I've never really liked it, because it just never really interested me in that way.
I will say in 5th edition, Warlocks are one of the most unique classes, because in 5th edition you have non-casters, you have half-casters, and then you have full casters. This is none of them.
Okay.
So the way Warlocks work in 5th edition is you get very select spells, right? And those spells that you get, it kind of progresses on a half-caster scale, but you always cast your spells at their highest level. So if you have the ability to cast 3rd level spells, any spell you cast, whether you like it or not, is going to be cast at 3rd level.
So you have to cast top to bottom, not
top to bottom. There is no bottom. There's just a top.
Well, I just mean top to bottom as in whatever you have available at the top, right? Like instead of any order that you wish, you're always max casting.
Yes, you're max casting everything that you throw out there. And they are the only casting class that gets their spell slots back on a short rest. So those are just 2 unique 5th edition mechanics that are involved with Warlocks that are different than any other class in 5th edition.
So when you say the spells are specific, is that just per subclass? Do you mean that, or in terms of they just have a much more limited?
They have a much more limited spell list, and they get much less of them. So every other half casters, they'll get a small amount of spells, like paladins and rangers and stuff like that. They don't get nearly as many as a druid or a cleric or something like that. But the spells that warlocks have access to, they have. A lot of them are specific to their subclass. So you'll likely see in here, there'll be a little table of specific spells that this class will get no matter what. Mm-hmm. They also get to choose spells as they level up like everybody else does. But again, they're from the Warlock class list, not all the full class list. So But yeah, it's very different. Like there was even a there's this weird like min-max build called the Coffee Lock, where you mix a warlock with a sorcerer, and then you use your sorcery points to turn them into spell slots, and then you take a short rest, and then you get all your spell slots. So you basically have infinite spell slots. Like it's a weird like combination of using
you're basically
features.
just never having to actually rest for anything. It's just okay.
Yeah, it's super crazy.
I think Lucifer was talking about that. The Coffee Lock.
I do remember.
Lucifer's really into warlock builds.
Very much so, especially 5th edition and stuff like that. They do some pretty cool stuff. But okay, just wanted to put that out there.
So there was some difference from the homebrewery. Finalized it. Some grammar issues and one different spell. Okay. Yeah, that's the other thing too, is that what we wanted to address on Friday, I think too, is just trying to lock in when we get updates just because of things like this.
Yeah.
So
I believe, and I may have missed a couple of pieces, but I believe I got everything current on this version. So everything that's in here should be up to date. Correct me if I'm wrong, drabz, but everything here should be what your most recent version looks like.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, all right. Should probably stop touching my microphone. I've been told that that's very loud.
Oh, well.
All right.
No worries.
Well, that's been a long enough intro. I think Hecate deserves their review now.
That's my bad. I messed up.
No big deal. No big deal. Let's go. So, Shadow Monarch. Description. This subclass is heavily inspired by the MC of solo leveling anime? This subclass is heavily inspired by the MC of solo leveling anime, one which I have not seen. I haven't even heard of that one. So, completely been like unknown to me what's going on there. You'll notice that some features, like the Shadow Warrior feature, are the same as the Hexblade, but with a twist. This class was made for any campaign in mind, as the patron can be any the DM chooses from their setting. Interesting. Okay. Hexblade, so what's like the most standout aspect of a Hexblade? Just to kind of give me a picture.
So, from my understanding, the Hexblade Warlock, what you get is you have this packed weapon, right? And this weapon can be any weapon you want. I can make it a sword, I can make it a spear, I can make it whatever, but this is like a bonded weapon to me. And so, like, if you get like new weapons throughout, I can almost turn that, like, say if I got a +1 sword, I found it out in the world, I can turn that, there's like a ritual you can do to turn that +1 sword into your packed weapon. So now your packed weapon is a +1, and you can switch it out to other things if you want. So say if I found like an adamantium sword, I can change it from a +1 to an adamantium, but you don't get to combine them. Type deal. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting. You can take one trait from any of that, and it's still the weapon of your choosing.
It's still, yeah.
Interesting. So that's actually kind of interesting, because that is almost like a partial solution to one of the discussions that we had a couple weeks back of leveling mundane weapons.
Yes.
So that's, or scaling mundane weapons.
Yes.
That was the episode title. So that's interesting that basically is kind of a fix for that. So
and that's why I really like that feature in that class, in that subclass, because you can do so much cool stuff with it. You can actually take your stuff with you. You can use it and just be like, this is still my weapon.
Interesting. Okay. So this one's going to be similar to that, but with a twist.
I'm sure. I think that feature they were talking about, the shadow feature, or the Shadow Warrior. Oh
yeah, the Shadow Warrior features are like Hexblade. Yeah, so I'm really interested to see. I just kind of wanted to get a feel for what Hexblade was. Again, not something I'm familiar with. All right, so warlocks who choose a subclass crave the power of shadows and wish to become one with them. As they seek the dark abyss of the shadows, they are noticed by the Monarch of Shadows. He grants those in favor a sliver of his power by imbuing his shadow within theirs to grant them the power of shadows and the knowledge to control them. That's actually cool. I love that little bit of lore that he imbues their shadow with a bit of his, and that's how he's like, that's the connection. That's dope. I fucking love that. Those who wield this power learn to create shades from fallen enemies to control. However, they themselves slowly start becoming shadow servants of the Monarch of Shadows, which is perfectly falls in line with what you expect a Hexblade deal to be. You are getting power for servitude, you know? So I like that, though. But the sliver of shadow, like giving them a part of his shadow.
That is very fire. I like that.
That's pretty dope. So is this supposed to be the Monarch, or is this supposed to be just one of the people in the class?
I don't know if that is supposed to be the patron or if that's kind of the vibe that the class presents. Like, that might be an example of maybe a 20th level Shadow Monarch or something like that. Like,
I mean, these would be like all the risen dead, I guess, around him. But it looks like he might be like the actual Shadow Monarch.
He might be the patron, but
it kind of looks like he should be.
It looks clean. I don't know where you found these pictures, if they were like AI or something like that, but it's supposed to be the 20th level one. Yeah, that's
okay,
pretty groovy.
So this is supposed to be 20th level Shadow Monarch with all of his raised,
his little minions.
That's kind of all the raised shades. That was a lot harder to say than I thought.
Yes, exactly.
Cafe Night AI. All right.
Ooh, I'm saving that.
Yeah, I haven't heard of Cafe.
I have not either.
Before.
The only one I've ever able to actually find decently is Midjourney, and it's okay.
Yeah, that's dope. I like that. All right, what can we expect from this? So, Shadow Monarch expended spells. Oh,
I think it's expanded. It's supposed to be expanded. So, you get your regular class. You get your regular spells that you choose, and these are the additional ones that you get for free.
Okay, because you were saying that normally you have a set list, so this is just okay. So this is on top of that. So at first level, you get shield and inflict wounds. Actually, two great ones to start out with.
So good.
I really like that though, because a lot of the times you get bundles of things, right? You get like, a bundle of attack spells, or you'll get like one or two like defensive things. I kind of like that this is just like right out the gate, you get both sides of that. So that's already really good. Second level, Branding Smite, Pass Without Trace. Pass Without Trace is actually a good classic, and I think for a shadow type class, like a shadow background,
being super
Pass Without
stealthy.
Trace is interesting. Branding Smite, I know Smite. I don't know what Branding Smite is.
I feel like, so a lot of the smites, you got like Searing Smite, Branding Smite, Blinding Smite. They have different features that they have. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. But basically, it just adds a little bit of extra oomph or extra effect to whatever damages that you're doing. Normally,
Smite just adds how much?
So smiting is normally a paladin thing,
right? And
they just add a bunch of extra damage if they're doing a regular smite.
That's what I thought. It's like a D8, right, or 2D8 or something like that.
Depending on your level, depending on your paladin level, I do think it's D8s. This one adds extra damage, but it does change the damage type. It makes it specifically radiant damage, and it says the attack deals an extra 2d6 radiant damage to the target, which becomes visible if it's invisible. So you can make an invisible target visible.
Interesting.
And
okay.
I'm curious, because this is a second level spell. I'm curious
That's
if that would
for second level, yeah.
if that would affect somebody using the spell greater invisibility.
Because it just says someone who's invisible.
It says which becomes visible if it's invisible.
Well, yeah, because it basically makes it highlight, right? It basically makes it glow, kind of like.
Yes.
What's that other one?
It says the target sheds dim light in a 5-foot radius and cannot become invisible until the spell ends. Interesting, and it lasts for a minute.
Interesting. That is very interesting. I'm almost wondering, like, okay, because you are a person of shadow. That's interesting that you would like deal radiant light damage and then make someone glow, which yes, it makes sense because you could see them, but that also could technically like almost wants to work against you. I would almost be interested to see if this was necrotic damage, like basically turn it into necrotic damage, and I don't know, maybe
almost like corrupting smite or something like that.
Yeah, just something where it's like you just do the same exact thing where. I don't mind like the idea where they can't hide in the shadows. Like, maybe it's like instead of them just glowing, if they're invisible, maybe like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to make it too, overly complicated because then, you get too many situational things. But yeah, it's just interesting that it's radiant. I'm almost wondering if it should be necrotic just because of so far what we've had from the patron, but at the same time, I like that ability. I mean, for second level, that seems like a lot of damage for second level, but I mean, it's I mean, it is just a one-time spell, though. But I mean, you are a warlock, so you're gonna get that back really quick. That's
Yes, but I will say warlocks get the fewest spell slots of every class. So like, whereas somebody else at their level might have like 6 or 7 spell slots, a warlock's probably gonna have 2, maybe 3. Like, yeah.
interesting. Okay, yeah. Because I'm trying to like wrap my head around like the idea of like how could you turn that into something that's shadow based, where either you make it to where like they don't have a shadow, like you take their shadow away, or like they can't hide in shadows, like they're completely visible to you if they're in like. But then again, it takes away like the actual spell's ability to do the take someone from being invisible. That's the downside. Is like
it would be interesting if like when you hit them with this, like something about inside of them you now can see. Like not necessarily they glow for everyone to see, but you now like maybe there's like this like seed of shadow you've planted into this person, and now you always know where they're at because you know where that seed is, right? So they can't become invisible from you. So it's not like for everybody, but at the very least for you. I don't know if something.
Oh,
like that
here's
would work.
okay. So how, because it's the Monarch of Shadow. I know we're like stopping way early. But this is just a cool. But it's a cool, it's a cool power. It's a cool spell. But what if you did to where it's necrotic damage? So it works exactly the same way, but it's necrotic damage. But for the invisibility part, essentially, you could flavor it one of two ways. You could say that even if they're invisible, like they cast a very obvious shadow, like regardless of the lighting situation.
Oh.
So you cast it on them and there's a very obvious shadow cast.
That's interesting.
You could flavor it as their shadow envelops them, and instead of being shiny outline, like Hecate was saying, they get like a nice glow outline. Imagine it's their shadow wraps around them, and now they have a dark silhouette. So they're literally a dark lined person silhouette trying to be invisible. And the only way for them to run away
to rid themselves of it
is to get into a shadow. Because if they're covered in it, or if they're casting one, the only way for them to maintain their invisibility would be to run into a shadow. And guess where and because that's your realm, right? And then imagine if you have the ability to see, things that are in shadow at a certain level, right? Like at a certain level, I would assume you should be able to see people in shadows.
That would actually be very interesting because there is a warlock. So warlocks have a very unique feature called invocations, right? And so you can do a lot of cool stuff with these invocations. You can take certain like first level spells and turn them into cantrips and basically just cast them for free. They're not like crazy powerful stuff. But like still, I mean, you can cast mage armor at will. You can cast disguise self at will, like little things like that. But imagine but there's also a one that allows you to see. It's the only place you can really find it. You can see through magical darkness. That's actually pretty dope. No other ability allows you to, like, because if somebody casts the darkness spell, your dark vision's not going to do crap for you because it's magical darkness.
I think True Sight. True Sight.
Maybe, yeah. I think
True Sight
it might.
Through
yeah,
it too.
But that would be very interesting.
Yeah.
So Devil's Sight is amazing. Yeah.
So for this particular build, it was designed to have the Shadow of the Monarch be able to do both, radiant and necrotic. Which, I mean, again, when you're that powerful, you can kind of just god level power, do whatever you want. But yeah, I think I would probably turn that branded smite into. I would probably rename it to just something a little bit more like on, the shadowy side. Just, kind of like Looming Smite or something. Ooh, Looming Smite.
Interesting.
And I think, the idea of doing necrotic damage would be really cool. Or, again, because you have a Monarch that you say does both, Hecate, what if, you had Branding Smite and Looming Smite, and it depends on their alignment? I don't know. I mean, most people don't use alignment in 5th edition, but if you have a good character, if you generally want to be a good character, you can get Branding Smite. If you want to generally be a bad character, you can get the Looming Smite for like the necrotic side.
Right.
So it'd be kind of interesting. Give it like a choice. But
I like that.
Yeah, that's the kind of flavor I'm getting out of this myself. And then again, so going straight to the third level spells for this, bestow, curse, and slow. So I feel like this is just giving me more ammo to say that it should be necrotic damage, because now you have bestow, curse.
Yeah,
which is great.
It flows so well.
At fourth level, we get Phantasmal Killer. Interesting. I know Phantasmal Force. I don't know Phantasmal Killer. I know.
I'm not super familiar with that one either.
Phantasmal Force, I believe, is a illusionary spell.
So is Killer.
Interesting.
You tap into the nightmare of a creature you can see within range and create an illusory manifestation of its deepest fears, visible only to the creature.
It's the same thing. It's the same exact. This must be just a new name of it. This must be the 5th edition name. I think I'm thinking.
So, this is a 4th level spell, because what was the other one you said?
Like Phantasmal Force. I think it's just a 2nd edition name. I think what I'm thinking of is the older.
Because there is it's a higher level spell. So Phantasmal Force is 2nd level. Phantasmal Killer is 4th level.
Oh.
So Phantasmal Force has a huge description. It's a way bigger one than Phantasmal Killer. I feel like
maybe I'm also thinking of just something else. Because I was just thinking of the one that I was thinking of is also similar, because I thought it's not a psionic ability, because we just finished all of those, but
it's true.
It is just I just remember there is a 2nd level or a 2nd edition spell or ability that all that does is exactly that. It just takes their fear and puts it in front of them.
Yes. Okay.
Just remember, Phantasmal Killer is amazing when you get the 6th level, for reasons you'll find out. Okay, that's good.
I love finding
at 4th, out. And then we also get Mordekainen's Faithful Hound. Always some impressive spells from him.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Faithful Hound is really good, because I believe Faithful Hound.
I'm actually not familiar with that at all.
Faithful Hound, I think, isn't just. It's not just like a spiritual steed. I believe it actually has like an intelligence.
I don't see a stat block here. It says you conjure a phantasmal watchdog in an unoccupied space you can see within range, where it remains for the duration until you dismiss it as an action, or you move over 100 feet away from it.
Okay, so it's just an alarm. Okay, maybe
the hound is invisible, though.
So it's more of an alarm system. It's just there to alert you, so you and your party can get a full night's rest without watch.
Interesting. Okay.
I thought he also had a spell where you could like summon basically like an intelligent
creature to actually like fight for you or with you.
And then at 5th level we get Contagion, and then instead of Macabre we going to get Misled.
Yes.
All right. Interesting set of spells here. I'm really liking the set of spells. I'm liking that they each step above doesn't go off course, right? You're getting the shield, inflict wounds. You're getting an out of combat, in combat. Then at 3rd level, you're getting slightly in combat, slightly, narrative, and then slow, which is also just more of a crowd control, which I really like. Add that in there early on. 4th level, you're getting more crowd control and more out of combat. And then at 5th level, you get 2 more more combat related stuff. So I'm liking that. I think it's a good spread balance. And it's a good build up. So at 1st level, Shadow Monarch Patron feature. As you begin diving into the dark abyss of shadows, you are enveloped by them, causing your body to strengthen. You gain proficiency with medium armor, shields, and martial weapons. Your patron gives you a shadow weapon made from their shadow that you are proficient with that lacks the two-handed property. Interesting.
So that's the limitation, I think, with the other one as well. So you can't have like a great sword or a great axe because those have like two-handed properties. So, but it can be
that's
any...
the hexblade. So that's what you're saying. It's similar to the hexblade. Gotcha. So that you may call it at any time, dealing an additional 1d6 necrotic damage, increasing to 1d8 at 6th level, d10 at 12, d12 at 18. So your patron gives you a shadow weapon made from their shadow that you are proficient with, that you may call at any time.
I believe what that means is like I can like summon it to my hand. Like I don't
okay.
Like it it's disappeared. It's gone. Like nobody can
so
like
basically
disarm
you hold it into a shadow. Yeah, basically it's just chills in your shadow, and then you summon it. So, and then on top of whatever weapon it is, it will also do a d6 necrotic damage on top of whatever the weapon
yes.
of choice. Interesting. Okay. Now what's also interesting is it's not two-handed weapon. let's see, you gain proficiency, you get to use. So what's really interesting, and I don't know if this is just an oversight, but it does say it gives you a shadow weapon, and as long as it's not two-handed, do ranged weapons count? And not just like obviously a thrown dagger would count, but a javelin. Obviously, I always go to javelin. And then if you also think about it, can I get a hand crossbow? Because that's technically a one-handed weapon. So I'm assuming the intent is it's a martial melee weapon.
Interesting.
But it would be really interesting, like a sling. What if I could get a shadow sling? You know what I mean? Now, again, what does that actually mean in terms of combat? Who knows? I'm just trying to understand.
Those would count.
Those do count. Oh, okay. So
any martial weapon.
Okay,
fire.
so it's any martial weapon. That changes a lot because that really changes the mindset of what your character is. Interesting. Okay. I like that. When you attack with a shadow weapon, you can use your charisma modifier instead of strength or dexterity
Which
for the attack
I
and damage
love.
rolls. If you later gain Pact of the Blade feature, this benefit extends to every pact weapon you conjure with that feature, no matter the weapon's type. So,
Pact of the Blade is in what did I call them? The things that they get. It's not an incarnation. It's a
invocation.
Invocation. Yes, invocation. Gosh.
So talk to me about both of you, because you liked it and you wrote it. Why charisma?
That's the casting class of warlocks. Like, they are a charisma-based class, so everything they do is based on charisma. Just like bards, everything's based on charisma. Again, so why?
So you're just like you just like it to see it because it's consistent with.
I like to see it because when I am building a class, I want synergy. So if I need a high charisma for all my spells, if I need a high charisma for all my stuff, I don't want to have to heavily invest in another stat to actually do damage with my weapon.
Gotcha. So you're commenting on the fact that because the charisma is already going to be a high primary stat.
Yes.
This is adding that benefit throughout the class's build.
It's not that I'm glad it's charisma specifically. It's glad that it's synergistic with the class
build itself. Okay.
Now, there are some people that allow you to do something called custom lineage, I believe it's called, where you can basically say, hey, even though every other warlock is technically charisma based, I want this warlock to be intelligence based, or I want this warlock to be dexterity based, or whatever. You know, like
I totally understand that, because I would normally in High Point run that based off the patron, whatever. Because again, for me, it's not just I want to be a warlock. That's more of a conversation of who you're following, right? Like, it's not just a class that you play. Like, there's implications. So that's why I'm just curious. Like, okay, so charisma is more for the warlock.
Just like standard 5th edition warlock.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so this is just allowing that synergy so you don't have to worry about having strength or dexterity very high because you've already made your main block charisma.
Yes.
Okay. That is a very good reasoning for liking that. For me, it's just very interesting that a charisma is a very weird stat
creepy,
block
dark
to show
dude.
there.
Oh, you're gonna be really charismatic, really?
Yeah, it's just one of those weird things where. But I mean, charisma means a lot of different things. It doesn't just mean that people get along with you. It also means manipulative.
Yes.
Just like, you can just, as long as people just listen to you, it doesn't matter if you're a good guy, charismatic, or handsome. It just means that
intimidation is charisma.
Here's actually a really good random thing that no one talks, or like a good random example that I don't think anybody has ever put together before. Think about the old school like Disney like storylines, right? Like the old school narratives, right? Like princess, dark castle, king, evil
rescue
advisor,
beat the dragon,
heroes, all of that. We normally look at charisma as like the bard, right? Who's seducing everybody, or you look at the adventurer who slayed the dragon, very charismatic. He can go to towns and he can, tell people to calm down, and everyone, like, we usually look at those values, right? As charismatic, right? But an example no one talks about someone who has a 20 in charisma, or for 5th edition purposes, 18. You want to know someone in that entire show that no one talks about who has the highest charisma? It's not the king. It's not the princess. It's not the adventurer slaying the dragon, and it's not the bard sleeping with everybody. The person with the highest charisma in that entire storyline is the evil fucking advisor that everybody fucking listens to, even though from a mile away, everybody outside of that little bubble, everybody outside of the bubble goes, why the fuck is he there? He's obviously evil, but when you're in his bubble...
Jafar?
That's my point. When you have the Jafar character,
even Scar, man, like
that's my point. Those
facts,
are characters
dude. I haven't even thought
no
about
one
it.
ever
That's
talks
legit.
about. But when you want to talk about a true example of someone who has max charisma, it's the guys that literally you go, they're evil. Why is anyone listening? You're like, it's because they have charisma.
And like, even when we're thinking about like warlocks and patrons and stuff like that, usually there's somebody pulling their strings. They're doing that stuff for somebody else, you know? Like I watched what's the Tiana and the Frog or whatever, the Princess and the Frog one.
Yeah.
What do you call it? That voodoo guy. Mm-hmm. Like, that dude is, like, to me, a great definition of a warlock. He's over here going and talking and working with his patron to, like, cast these spells on these people, turn these people into frogs, to, like, turn this dude into some, like, all of that stuff very much feels like warlock status to me. So I like that mindset.
Interesting that it's charisma, but I think it's, again, we think of charisma as being good with people. But good with people isn't the same, right? A sleazy salesman, that guy that gets you to walk into the back alleyway to sell you illegal merchandise, that's high charisma. He's not good looking. He's not trustworthy. He's not someone you want to go take out with a beer. But out of all the people you're listening to him, he's the one you're buying from. You know what I mean? Some people call it desperation, but there's plenty of people who are trying to sell this to you. There's certain ones like
they're good at playing you against yourself.
Exactly. Yes. Like charisma could be played so many different ways. So
I like that.
I'm not against it in terms of a combat blot. I'm just when it comes to melee
what's the
combat,
lore that goes with it? Like connect the lore. So I feel that
because melee combat again, charisma can be that whole thing of just being able to. Like you know, I could imagine charisma being akin to being like a drunken monk. The charisma of being able to convince you of one way while I go the other.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? So,
and I will say that they articulated that you only get this benefit when you're using the shadow weapon.
Correct.
So if
it's not just any standard weapon. It has to be your
like,
specific shadow weapon.
Like the shadow is almost doing the damage. Maybe
like you were saying, the puppets pulling the strings.
Yes.
And so I'm not against it. It's just one of those things that stands out when you try to justify charisma for combat. It's like, I need something tangible here because you just looking good or being, like chummy with people doesn't get you combat advantage.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, again, unless you're a bard and you're like, no, dude, no. The reason why I want combat, like if someone built a bard and they put all of their shit in charisma and nothing in strength, and they're like, and they wanted to convince me to use charisma for like their attacking, the only way I'd allow it is if they're like, no, I'm a bard and all I ever do is talk. I don't ever stop talking, and I'm talking in battle and I'm looking at you and I'm like, hey man, you guys have some really nice boots on. Don't scuff them in this battle, okay? Oh, you missed me. Oh, you almost got me, but hey, that's a really nice shield. Don't forget to shine it after this battle. Like, just literally just say, I'm going to nonstop talk. I'm going to compliment them. I'm going to basically do all the things to get in their head to where they don't know if I'm a good guy, a bad guy, if I'm a friend, or if I'm
I'm going to talk trash to them. I'm going to tell them.
If you gave me that character build, I'd be like, okay, you are
maybe
charisma-based combat. Because at that point, I'd allow all of your melee to be charisma-based. Because if you could play the character where it's just canon that all you do is just get in someone's head by nonstop talking, that would be hilarious. Because then we could get into a really fun situation of, that's fine. But if you're ever incapable of talking, you'll lose your benefits and have to go to
somebody cast silence on you for whatever reason or something like that.
If that's the build, you'd have to go back to strength and dex.
If you be like, well, guys, can't help you out.
But yeah, that would be so much fun. Okay, so
interesting.
That solves my
cool.
dilemma of charisma. So cool. Moving on to Shadow Essence for 3rd level. Beginning at 3rd level, your life essence starts intertwining with the shadows, and you learn to use them to your advantage. You learn the spells Darkness and Misty Step. Interesting. We didn't. That's just normal.
These are new. So you have the expanded spell list that you get at those certain levels.
Yeah.
This is something outside of that.
Okay. So these are just also.
These are additional to that.
So darkness. So casting darkness and Misty Step. Isn't there Shadow Step? Isn't Shadow Step a different teleport spell?
That might be a class feature for like a shadow sorcerer or a shadow monk.
Okay, so Misty Step still. I mean, Misty Step still works though. The Misty Step totally still works. Ooh, you know what you could do? Just throwing this out there, either for this level or maybe 5th level or later. Because sometimes like you just want to throw in like, hey, it's been a couple levels, you don't get anything for another 2 levels. Here's a bonus. Double it if you can use it in a shadow. Like you get Misty Step, but if you can like
double like the distance?
Yeah, like doubles Misty Step's distance if you can hop into a shadow and see another actual
But
shadow.
you have to be teleporting to another shadow for it to work.
It has to be from those 2 points. But something like that could be like kind of fun to add in later down the road when you want to give them something extra. Is like, hey, that Misty Step, you can now double the damage.
It gets upgraded a little
shadows.
bit. Nice.
But otherwise, yeah. So those are 2 great spells, I think, to have at 3rd level as well. Having darkness this early, I think, makes a lot of sense.
Okay,
it's not one of those ones. You know what I mean? Like it really like makes sense to have that.
Along those same lines, how you can like upgrade your Misty Step. I think about the idea of casting the spell Darkness. Right now, Darkness has a specific AoE. I'm curious, like, say if I'm in a cavern and it's dark in there, and the only reason people can see is because they have dark vision, right? There's no light other than that, but they have dark vision, so great.
Yeah.
If I were high enough level and I cast Darkness in a place like that, could it just be I turn whatever darkness is here into magical darkness?
Technically you do, yeah. And then magical darkness effects.
Because then it would be way bigger than the normal spell range of, because darkness spell range is like, I think it's a 20-foot radius.
Yeah,
right.
It's but if it's a good size.
It's a very good size, but like imagine I was in like.
So you're trying to say like an option would be if casting darkness in dark, it can multiply the size.
It not multiply the size, just whatever like the room that I'm in. All the darkness that exists here is now magical and nobody can see. Your dark vision does crap for you.
Yeah, okay.
No matter where
I would say
you're
that
at.
Misty Step could use the same. Like, I think both of those, like maybe at like level 7, level 8, level 9, like those would be one of those like intermittent, like ability upgrades. Where
I think that would be more like a 15 or 17 level because that's.
I mean,
that's
what I'm saying is like it would be just one of those ones where you're not expecting to get something and it's been a minute, so it's like you just kind of throw that one in there as a hey, now you have a little bit more. So I like that though, being able to basically cast darkness, cast Misty Step, but eventually later down the road use darkness to go further, or turn any darkness, any group of darkness,
any natural darkness into magical darkness.
That is kind of fucking dope.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I like those ideas.
All right. I wanted to make a point here too. So I didn't finish reading this. These spells are Warlock spells for you and don't count against the number of Warlock spells you know. You can cast each of these spells once without expending a spell slot, and regain the ability to do so at the end of a long rest. So they get their own spell slots, which is kind of cool. So almost like, so personalized spells. One thing I also loved about this too is, again, the layering of the lore. Your life essence starts to intertwine with the shadows, not only to help you bond with the shadows, but I also imagine like that little sliver that he gave you is actually like a seed. And this is his just tendrils, like there's a little bit of him just literally just intertwining and grasping.
Yeah, use this.
And I love that idea. Like, he gave you this sliver, but what that sliver is like a parasite, and it's just going to spread and consume you. And this is literally it. It's just getting bigger.
That's very.
So I do love that imagery that we're keeping every single time. Arise Shades. Ooh, okay. So this is the one he said that we are going to want to know why.
Phantasmal Killer.
Yes, why that on 4th level was going to be so much.
Just as a side note, this where it says Arise. All right, I need you. That was in the anime, right? That was a very like goosebumps moment, right? Anybody who'd read the manga, like they were waiting for this episode to come out because they released the episodes like one at a time.
Right.
And there were a bunch of people online like, you better do this right. You better do this. You better make this scene like exactly what it needs to be, because they were expecting when it's going to happen. But it's the first time he actually summons something. The first time he calls out to it, and he calls out a riot. Like, it was a fire moment in the anime. It was a big deal. Like, it was a big deal. So like
basically like a first time Super Saiyan moment.
Yes, very much so. Very much that vibe.
Okay.
So
it's a spine chilling scene that was amazing. Yeah,
it was amazing. It was so amazing. I loved it.
I mean, I love when animes can do that, when you get to that point to where, you know, like not even not his first, not Ichigo's first Bankai, but when Ichigo goes like full hollow the first time, and you actually just get the realization that he's hollow and not just Bankai. Like, like when he goes full hollow the first time, and you were just like, you weren't like Reaper dude. You were full on like evil. Like that, like those moments, not many animes can do. I mean, like, you know, DBZ did it really well with, you know, I mean, you knew the Super Saiyan was going to come eventually, but they did a really good job at just the moment, the timing, and you're just like, that was it. That was the moment we needed it to happen, right? Like, friend goes down.
Yes.
Just like, yeah, just little things like that are amazing when they can frame it right, time it right, and deliver.
100%. 100%.
All right, and then I've already opened up the next link, so we will actually, you know, let me. Okay, yeah, no, we're fine. I will bring this link up. There. Okay, so we'll have that after we read this.
Dope.
All right, so Arise Shades, 6th level. You gain the ability to capture the souls of your fallen enemies, storing them within your own shadow. Whenever you reduce a creature to 0 hit points, you add their spirit to your collection. You can hold several spirits equal to your proficiency bonus, which is also good because it goes up with your level. If you would gain any spirits after that number, the spirit you have held the longest is lost. This ability has no effect on undead or constructs. Interesting.
So my question would be, do you get to choose?
Choose what?
If you want to take the spirit, or do you have to?
I'm assuming that it's because you gain the ability to capture souls, so I'm assuming it's a choice.
But the way it reads, it says, whenever you reduce a creature to 0 hit points, you add them.
We haven't done that part yet.
So, I thought... Sorry.
No, we just... So, yeah, so we... oh, wait, so wait. So, oh, wait, did I read that part?
I thought you did.
Oh, whenever you reduce a creature's hit points, you add this. Okay, so maybe there isn't a choice.
Because then... The reason why I asked that is because afterwards you said the oldest one goes away.
Yeah, so it's kind of just, yeah, so it's literally just a cycle of one goes in, last goes out.
And I don't, and this might be irrelevant for me because I'm thinking like in the show, they have different levels, right? Mm-hmm. So if I killed a level 1 guy, then I can raise a level 1 guy. Right, if I killed a level 10 guy, I can raise a level 10 guy. I don't know if that's how it works here. So my thought process is like, hey, if the oldest one that I have is a level 10 and this one I just killed is a level 1, I don't want to take this level 1 and trash my level 10.
Right. That does make actually a lot of sense of depending upon what you can do with these shadow servants. That would actually make a lot of sense on I would imagine you'd want to be able to choose, right?
Yeah.
Right. And again, I also love the idea that, like, he says it nice where it's like the oldest one is lost. I imagine that it's not lost. The Shadow Monarch knows exactly where it is. Because again, the Shadow Monarch has all of like
it's
those,
his
right?
now.
So yeah, he's every time you replace one, that's one that he now reses, and they are now just part of his horde.
Nice. Absolutely nice.
Alternatively, the Shadow
it's lost to you.
Yeah.
It's lost to you.
Or the shadow ate it and it fed the shadow that's consuming the warlock.
There you go. Goodness.
Interesting. So as an action, you can expend one of the spirits you have captured to summon their shade in an unoccupied space you can see within 5 feet of you. The shade uses the Shadow Servant stat block and uses your proficiency bonus in several places. The shade is an ally to you and your companions. In combat, it shares your initiative, but it takes its own turn immediately after yours. It follows your verbal commands, no action required by you. If you don't issue a command, it will defend itself against hostile creatures and use its movement to stay as close to you as possible. You can only have one Shade Servant active at a time. If you summon a new one, the previous one vanishes. So it is expending the spirit. So technically, yes, you would, like rack them up, but it does seem like we're going to have their own stat block, so you're not going to really be able to keep what they are, except for maybe what their weapons are.
Right.
But it does seem like you're going to be just, you're going to pull one out and then it's going to go away.
Okay.
It's just
so lightweight won't really matter
Yeah, you're not collecting these long term. You're kind of just one using these.
So they did mention that you did a great job reading between their lines. They're like,
Shadow Monarch does take it. Yep.
You're like, yeah, you read between my lines. I don't even have to say
exactly. Yeah, no, the lore's there. You painted the picture for me, so I'm looking at what you painted. Lipa, good morning. How you doing? Interesting. Okay, so let's look at these stat blocks. So you can basically take up a number of creatures into your shadow or their spirits equal to your proficiency bonus and bring them out as a shadow servant.
So it's an undead level, you got a 3 proficiency bonus. You can have 3 of these guys at a time.
Right, but only 1 can be out at a time.
Okay.
Up to 3 stored, 1 out at a time. So we get an undead medium creature with an armor class of 12 plus your proficiency bonus.
Okay.
That's what he said is going to be used. Then hit points are a 12 times your proficiency bonus plus 25. Holy shit balls.
So
12 times 3 plus 25.
So what is that?
So 12 times 3 is going to be your 36 plus another 25. So you're looking at 59.
That's kind of hefty.
Or no, 61.
But that would still be less than the average.
It's just, it's a lot of health for just
it is.
Like something like that. That's a decent amount of health, and then a speed of 40, so it's even fast.
Oh wow!
Okay,
very nice.
Now strength is 13, dex is 16, constitution is 15, intelligence is 4, wisdom is 10, charisma is 16. Interesting. Well, charisma makes sense because it's obviously, but intelligence of 4, so it's not an intelligent creature. It basically is just brain dead to you.
It's a slave, yeah.
Wisdom, so it's smart enough to defend itself. Okay, makes sense. Interesting that it has a high dex over strength, but I guess it's because it's more of a spirit, so you're kind of like summoning it.
Right.
So yeah, I guess strength makes it a little bit... yeah, interesting. I could see an argument for both strength and dex having the 16. You know what I mean?
Either way,
that could be interchangeable, and I wouldn't really bother. I think the constitution at 15 is solid choice. But yeah, I think strength and dex could be played with.
Okay.
I don't know why. It's you know.
I might even say it just varies on, like, say I killed a strength-based creature. Maybe that one has strength. Maybe I killed a dexterity-based creature. Maybe just swap them back and forth.
Yeah,
depending on which one you're pulling out. But
yeah, I don't think that would be a bad thing.
Okay. Cool.
It is resistant to necrotic damage. Again,
makes sense.
Again, going full lore here, if it's resistance to necrotic damage, the idea that you do necrotic damage makes sense because they're your allies. They wouldn't get hurt by you. Whereas if you're going to do like that, if you're going to be able to do radiant damage, I know that it's not an AoE effect. I know that it's only, like the smite is only supposed to against one person. But like in my brain, there's just a disconnect of, but that would mean that you could hurt your guys and you should have them not be able to be damaged by you because they're it's just that whole thing of a consistency where I really do think you should be able to at least choose to do necrotic damage with Branding Smite. Condition immunity is frightened. I kind of like that because it doesn't have intelligence, so it literally isn't smart enough to be scared.
And a lot of those spells, kind of like you were just talking about with the necrotic damage, a lot of those spells that they're creating are meant to frighten people.
Yep. So
right.
So it won't be scared away when they have these things going outside.
Exactly. Because I think some of them might be AoEs too. Some of the fear spells might be.
Yeah. Either AoE or if you kill it and then res it, it won't have it anymore. So kind of thing like that. Interesting. Languages, understands the languages you speak, obviously, because it'll only take orders from you.
Superior dark vision. That's pretty good.
Oh yeah, dark vision and pass. Okay, yeah, not too bad. Okay, yeah, I don't dislike any of these. I would almost go one step further and give it immunity to gaze attacks too.
Gaze attacks. What condition does that inflict on you? Is that like petrification?
Yeah. Petrification, I think, is technically under the gaze attacks. I'm just thinking of mechanically speaking, like what else you could reasonably give this.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of just always focused on you, you know what I mean? And it's kind of incorporeal. So, interesting. I understand why it would be fast too, because incorporeal is just kind of a spirit. It's just going to zoom across.
A lot less. What do you call it? Friction.
Actually, question Hecate. Would you allow, and this is more from player to a DM, if I were playing this, If the creature I killed could fly, would you allow the creature I summoned through the Shadow Servant to keep its flying stat?
Interesting. That would be very interesting. I like
because
that.
spirits, some spirits in D&D can fly. Some ghouls have the flyability. So I understand you not wanting to default give everything fly.
Yeah.
But if it could fly, would my Shadow Servant also be able to fly?
And Hoylepa actually had an interesting question. I think that would be for your little mindset. If it was immune to gaze attack, does that mean a beholder would basically be able to do nothing to it?
Yes, because most of the attacks from the beholder are gaze attacks. So
they're all like weird little eye stalk thingies.
I think you can make the argument, even if it's a resistance, even on a full immunity. But I really do think that it kind of falls in line with this because again, it's mindless, right?
Yeah,
it's not really there to tinker with. Gaze attacks are typically things you think about, affecting the mind.
Yeah.
So this thing not having intelligence, I mean, I know gaze attacks can affect animals and stuff like that, but I don't know. I'm just trying to workshop the idea of.
No, I get you.
I'm not saying that it's weak. I feel like you could add that.
You could do more
and make an argument for it. But yeah, Hecate, I'm just really curious if you would make that call that if particularly I killed like a harpy and then took the soul and put it in my shadow, could the harpy then fly? I would allow it if you pass an Arcana check 12 plus the CR of the creature.
That's actually kind of clean.
That's actually nice.
I like that.
See, that right there, again, if CRs were better categorized, like we've talked about in the past, where they were actually properly categorized by either health or stat blocks, like, again, the biggest problem with them is they're just, you give me a CR, I should be able to gauge what its armor class and HP is. In my opinion, CR should be primarily those two things and give you a range of stats. You know what I mean? Like anything under a CR2 should not be able to have any stat above like a 13. Whereas like a CR, 4 to 9 could have anywhere up to a 50. Like, because that way we could all have a conversation, right? Like we could actually have that where it's like, oh, I'm using a CR7. Oh, it must have X number of hit points range. It must have at least 13s across the board. Those are the things that I feel CR doesn't represent properly is categories.
Agreed.
But I love this use of CR. If the CRs were properly categorized, I love the idea of using CR similar to how we talk about the benefits of using a proficiency bonus because it goes up with the character. Mm-hmm. This would be a great way to help balance abilities you want to give NPCs is getting
it's really interesting because
like moving it off of their CR, it makes sense, right? And then round it up. Like you could do a CR rounded up or rounded down, but always have a minimum of 1. So that way, small CR things have at least one of whatever it is. But I really like the idea that using CR as like a bump.
So I just wanted to see what's the highest CR creature. A Tarrasque is a 30 CR. So no, just no, because it would be 12 plus 30. I don't think you're gonna be able to. I don't think you're gonna be able to roll that.
Yeah.
Just theoretically, if you killed a Tarrasque and captured its shadow.
Yeah.
Now, what features are you gonna get from the Tarrasque that you're trying to be able to use in your little shadow? But does it when it's talking about assimilating these shadows? Does it say anything about the creature type other than an undead and constructs? Like. It says undead and constructs aren't affected by
Which makes sense because they don't really... I mean, they do have a soul and a spirit, but it's not the same like incorporealness that you would think.
So my question is, is there any other restriction? Does it have to be humanoid? Does it need to be like a certain size category? Or is it just literally any living thing that dies? I could see it being limited
either by size due to it's in your shadow, so it has to fit in your shadow. Like literally, it has to like be able to go into the hole that is your shadow, or it could be based on level. As you level up, you get bigger sizes.
You can do interesting. Bet.
Cat Darkness, how you doing? Crawls out of the sky into chat. Oh no.
I love it.
What is that? Attic Cat is watching us. Or Ceiling Cat.
Ceiling
Cat.
Watch
out for Ceiling Cat. Hello. How you doing?
It reminds me of Spider Pig.
Interesting. So interesting idea. I like the idea of being able to say that yes, you can. He would allow it to fly. Mm-hmm. I like that call. I think it's worthwhile. But it would be interesting. I do think that there should be some sort of size limitation, either by level or simply by the fact that you Like again, here's one of two things you could do. Either size, level it by size, right? Like every 5 levels it goes up a size. So up to 5th level small, maybe up to 10th level medium, up to 15th level large, and then 15 to 20, huge, gargantuan, monstrous, whatever. So you can easily do it like that, right? Every 5 levels, just give them a new size.
Right.
Because then that actually scales properly with what you're trying to do. But the other option is you could give them a challenge. You can give them a full-on in-game challenge. You can have any size you want. And pulling it out is never going to be a problem. But in order to get it in, you have to cast a large enough shadow.
Interesting.
So the whole deal is if you want a Tarask, that's fine. If you kill a dragon, if you kill a Tarask and you want that in your shadow, that's fine. But you have to devise a way in-game to cast a large enough shadow that could envelop it. Now, it doesn't have to be like a shadow the entire size of it, but like the shadow would have to be big enough like a doorway.
Does it have to be my shadow?
Yes.
Interesting.
That would be the puzzle in game. If you want that dragon, that's fine, but you have to cast a shadow big enough to act as a doorway that would be big enough to like the body.
I just need somebody to like lift the ground under me up real quick, and then I'm just gonna cast light right in front of my face.
Exactly.
Like, boom.
But that would be the puzzle, right? It's like if you're in a dungeon or if you're out on a valley, just having to position yourself on the right hilltop to cast the shadow like over the body.
Interesting.
But it would just be like I think
like
the
that.
level thing would be more acceptable to people. I think more people would just want the every 5
simplicity.
levels.
But that challenge is a lot of fun. Hecate did say something about that was the next feature they're talking about. But what was it? Hoylip was like another Cthulhu.
Love the idea the shadow door might be a challenge to write in the rules, but that's the other thing too. It's like it really depends on for something that you want to be able to make accessible to everybody and something that you want to be able to be transitionable. It makes more sense to say, hey, from 1st to 5th level, you can get small creatures. From 5th to 10th, you can get medium. From 10 to 15, large. From 15 to 20, huge. That makes the most sense, and mechanically, it steps up the best. But yeah, it would just be kind of cool. Maybe the puzzle is just like specialty creatures too. Maybe you can't have large unless you do the puzzle. So you can get mediums and smalls anytime you want, but large requires you to do the puzzle.
Okay.
Be kind of interesting.
Cool.
If size class is taken, how would it grow, shrink, magic interact with the talent? Interesting. So, that would be the thing too, because you would be really relying on your patron at that point. So I would assume that like the way if you're asking more like how lore wise, like how would it make sense that it would do it? I imagine it if it's going to go based off a class, right? Like let's say your 10th level, you can now take in like large creatures. Your patron basically like you stand over the creature and kind of like a ritual. You would just ask your patron to like do it, and then like your just shadow just grows until it just envelops it. And then it just like sinks into the ground.
Cool visual.
And then your shadow just creeps back and then forms back into your silhouette. That's how I would like lore wise. That's how I would imagine it. And then when you want to release it, the same thing. When you go to release it, what everyone sees behind you is your shadow just grow either onto the ground behind you or onto the wall behind you, and through that shadow steps out whatever it was.
Now, if we're really talking about this like a doorway, what if one of my wizard homies decided to cast Reduce on one of these dead creatures so that it shrunk in size just to fit in the shadow, and then they lost their concentration on it and got bigger while it was already in there, right?
Yeah.
Like, would that be, or is its essence what needs to be big enough to fit into the shadow type deal, you know?
And that's, I think that's a lot of like, I mean, again, we always talk about like, those are really semantics based on how does the DM want to approach it and how did their personal world mechanics. Darkness makes a really good point, as we talk about this a lot of times. We usually cut ourselves short when we try to say, hey, we're making this too complicated, or we know we can divide this up to death, because there is a point at which you don't want to take away from the actual gaming experience, not just the narrative, not just what the characters are doing, but think of the players, right? The more complexity you have, this is why we tend to stay away and try to shy away when we see these in homebrews, the situational powers, the ones that are like, this is cool, but when is this going to happen? When am I going to be in XY situation, right? And then they are really cool powers, but not only are they super situational, so you have to wait for certain things to happen, then they can get complicated in terms of what you can do with them, right? And it is true that a lot of the times you just kind of want that, like, narratively you can say whatever you want to paint the picture, but mechanically, Darkness makes a great point. You do want something that's not only digestible, but doesn't take away from player economy in terms of the game.
Yeah,
right?
the flow of the game.
Every time it comes to that character's, or when it comes to that player's turn, how long are they taking?
Do they have to do a whole science experiment just to figure out if I can do my thing or not? Or can I just be like, hey, I want to do this thing?
I mean, this is one of the biggest banes of late stage or high level gaming is, a lot of people have the meme of it takes 45 minutes for one player to go because of all the shit they can do. And, as good as that all is, and it, makes it better when you can digitize some things. But absolutely, when you're planning out, especially later game stuff, you really want to make sure that you don't add too many steps that are going to take away everybody's gameplay. So again, it's fun to think about in terms of like adding that shadow puzzle, but that would be for a very particular type of gameplay, a very particular type of campaign, where those type of puzzles are at least half of the game, right? Where every combat or after every combat, it's going to lead to some sort of puzzle like that, right?
Right.
But to have that as like a class feature where after every combat, you're like, okay, guys, everybody stop. You go hold the torch over, you know what I mean? Like those kind of things, every time you wanted to use this power would get very overbearing very quickly.
Yeah.
So very good points in chat. Thank you so much for that.
Love it.
Could do a dice size to, you could do the dice size to class, so you have to reserve hit dice with a cost for each class size or each size class. That's interesting. So have like certain amount of hit die, and then like every like level up you get a certain amount of hit die, or you just have a certain amount that you can spend.
Interesting.
So if that thing is so many hit points, that would be kind of cool, like a hit die expenditure.
Okay.
I don't know if we would want to limit it to anything. I don't know if, again, I know that original build was just to limit how many you have, but yeah, that's definitely an interesting way to do that as well. Holding your creature in your shadow, you have to use the hit die, and those hit die are unusable while you're holding it. That would be interesting. So yeah, you just basically have so many hit die, and whatever you're holding just takes away the pool.
And I would say that this truly for me would only really, any of this that we're talking about would really only be of benefit if when I summon it back out, either it's the same size when I summon it back out. Because if I'm just summoning a medium creature, no matter how big it is in the first place.
And this is what it's saying is you're just getting their soul. You're not getting them. You're just getting their essence, and it's coming out as this servant. So realistically, I guess what we're talking about is if you wanted to make it a 1-to-1 replica, if what you killed is what you summoned, what we're talking about, I think, would be more applicable. But realistically speaking, it is very simple in the sense that you kill it, you take their soul, and then you get a shadow servant.
I really like the way Hecate did it because it gives it that sense of simplicity, but it doesn't make it feel like you're losing a lot. It still makes you feel like you can do stuff.
And it goes better with the lore. If this were a 1-to-1, if I were killing things and taking them and summoning and them again, that would be a whole different type of build, right? This is literally just like what the Shadow Monarch is doing, right? You are taking something's spirit, after you've taken them, and you're twisting that spirit into a shadow servant that you are using to bend your will.
For sure.
That realistically falls so much better in the lore than what we've been talking about. So, but that's what we do here.
Exactly.
We go where the inspiration takes us. So we have another question from chat. Must the creature be complete to fit in the shadow? Do you have to curl it apart or let it be part or enter the shadow? So yeah, if we were still going with that idea, that would be kind of interesting. I think as long as you got, as long as it wasn't in 1,000 pieces, if it was like a tail got cut off, a head got cut off, as long as you got the general essence, that would kind of work for me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't think that. That would be a very interesting conversation of how much of it do you need for it to still be it.
Yeah. Right.
Before the power wouldn't work.
You're not the thing anymore.
That would be funny. For this class to be any creature, but when you summon it, it'll be the stat block regardless of the creature's soul. So yeah, so you can. So it really is just it's basically like I'm gonna take your soul and then I get one thing. I get to power it, right? You're not really taking the essence of what that creature was. Which is, totally fine. I do have a fighter subclass I've been working on. How do you guys handle submissions? Absolutely. So in our Discord, you can join the Discord, and we have a submissions channel specifically for homebrew review. So
Thank you,
if you want to
Hecate.
get something in, that would be fantastic. We would love to see it. All right. So now that we are done with
The stats.
yeah, with just these stats. Okay, so now let's go into the traits.
This is the one that he was very excited to go with Phantasmal Killer.
Okay, so with Phantasmal Killer, that's going to make like someone's enemy appear. So with traits, Terror Frenzy, the Shadow Servant has advantage on attack rolls against frightened creatures. Fantastic. So you get your Servant out, then you cast your Frightener, and then all of a sudden this happens, and they now get to wail on it. That's awesome. Okay, I like that. I really like that. It has multi-attack, so it can take. I can make a number of attacks equal to half your proficiency bonus rounded down. Because the highest proficiency bonus can be a 6, right? So this can. Okay, so that's not too bad. That's gonna have.
It's not crazy.
Attack.
It's not OP.
That's not
right
crazy
now. You
at
start
all.
off at 1 because half of 3 rounded down is 1.
That's that, but that's not.
But the next time it goes up, you get 2 attacks.
3 attacks isn't bad. No, it's not. I'd almost want to give it one more at like level 15 or 20, equal to your proficiency bonus plus 1.
Right.
Like that would just be kind of cool. Just again, not that it's weak. It's just like I like that so much. Like I wouldn't mind it getting like uber powerful, like right at the end there. You know what I mean?
Yes, 100%.
So it has claw. It has a reach of 5. It can do 1d12 plus your charisma modifier in cold damage. I like that.
Ooh.
I was expecting necrotic, but I like cold damage. That's unique. I like it.
I do like that.
It also has Shadow Flare. It's a ranged weapon for a 30-60 range. It's a 2d6 plus your charisma modifier necrotic damage. There's your necrotic damage. So it has a ranged necrotic, but a cold melee. That's very interesting. Now I'm wondering if it should be flipped. I mean, because typically you think of like melee with the necrotic. So I'm wondering if, the distance should be like cold, because, you're not being hit by the spirit itself or by the shadow. So you're not getting the necrotic, but it can reach out with cold almost. So my mind just thinking a little bit
honestly,
more lore wise, I might just switch those damage types.
I agree, because when you think about there's a necromancy cantrip called Chill Touch, I believe. It's also ranged, and I think that one does cold damage.
Yeah. So yeah, that would just be interesting. Yeah, that would maybe just be something I would do just for a different touch. But again, it's not wrong. It's not bad for any reason. So that's interesting. Okay, so that's what you can call anytime you, after 6th level, you can start to garner these spirits in your shadow. Interesting. Oh, I know what it's missing. Maybe it's gonna happen later. I don't know if this would happen now, or maybe at like 10th level. But what do you think about this? As a bonus action, you can summon your Shadow Servant as if it were Mage Hand, but you don't permanently lose it for doing so. So basically you get a bonus action Mage Hand as long as you have a spirit to use. So it doesn't come out as a Shadow Servant. You're just using one of the pocketed spirits to basically call out and just be like, go be my mage hand. So you
basically lightweight get Mage Hand for free, another free kind of cantrip to use.
Maybe at 10th level, because it's an additional ability.
Yeah.
But the idea, and then maybe again, you get a number of those equal to the spirits. So if you have 3 spirits, you can have 3 Mage Hands out. That wouldn't be very combat good.
Yes.
But it could be really interesting for the lore aspect of being able to use your servants, right? They are servants, and the idea that you expend them to come out in combat makes sense, right? You've taken all of their energy that they have left and you've given them physical form to come out, right? You're expending them. But the idea that they are servants, I kind of want them to do more than just hang out with you.
Right.
You got them, right? You killed them, you've taken their soul, they're in your shadow. by 10th level, it's like they're still just hanging there. They're just sitting there waiting to be dead. How cool would it be to be able to just use bonus actions and be like, oh, I have 3 spirits. Well, mage hand, go get the go boil the kettle. Other mage hand, go pick the tea. Other mage hand, go do this, and just be sitting there just with multiple things happening.
What about? I mean, mage hand is cool, but you're at 10th level. That's kind of higher. What about unseen servant?
Oh, even better.
Yeah,
even better. Be able to summon them as an unseen servant.
And they can actually go do stuff. They can pick stuff up. They can like stir stuff.
And that's what I was trying to think of. Like, they can actually be useful outside of combat, but when you need them in combat, that's when you lose them forever. Like that's you expend them.
Yes.
Once they, once they've outlived themselves. So, yeah, interesting. That would be. I would like to see that. I think that would be a cool. I don't think it should happen at 6th level. I kind of like the idea of you start to learn how to like garner these,
right?
And then you know, because again, the first level, like the first ability, you learn how to grab them and then use them, but you just learn how to expend them, right? You don't know how to balance your power. It's all or nothing.
Yes, you just throwing it out there.
Later down the road, being able to fine tune that, like, hey, I don't want to lose you, so I'm not going to fully summon you for combat, but I just need you to go do this little thing for me. I don't need to expend all your power, right? I don't need to kill you for that. Like,
right?
It's that mindset of like, I don't really need to kill my servant just to get me tea. Like, I can just have him go get me some tea, and then not kill him, right? Because then he can give me tea later.
I mean, I can. I mean, let's go. That's
all right.
plain.
But cool. I really love this idea though. The shadow servants, the ability to gain them, it works. I love it with the lore. The reason they don't do that is because I based it on the anime, and they were mainly used for combat, so I made the class for combat more. I'm glad you like the idea. Yeah, I just, again, we're not talking about what you need to do. It's just more of these are the inspirations, these are the ideas that pop out at us as we're reading this. And these are also just coming from the ideas of either what I would allow as a DM or what I would attempt to do as a player.
100%.
Like, again, 100%. If I was a player, I'd be
100%.
like, after 10th level, I'd be like, hey, bro, can I do anything with these guys in my shadow? Can I just, like, bring them out and just have them, like, do stuff for me? No one can see them. They're just, like, they just blah, blah, blah. That would just be so cool. All right, excellent. So now we go. Oh, and now we go to 10th level, the Shadow's Blessing.
Very nice.
Ooh, I like these name structures too. I haven't been mentioning that. But yeah, Shadow Warrior, Shadow Essence, Arise Shades.
They're very fitting.
Shadow's Blessing, Shadow's Release. Maybe one more non-Shadow name, because Arise Shades was great, and Shade is Shade Shadow. I like that. Maybe one more difference in one of these last two. Just
one a little off. Break it up a little bit.
I see that. Bit. But I do like. Yeah, I do really like that. Again, it's consistent, and it's like the other ones that we've had. It keeps you on pace. It's the naming structure also seems to lead with what's happening and the level. So it kind of makes sense as you read through these. You're not getting the expectation of what they are, but it's not like none of these sound lesser than the one before it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you read those through the powers and you're like, man, this power sounds awesome. It's level 3. And then you get to like level 15 and you're like, that power sounds like shit. Why wasn't these? I should be having the cool name power.
Why didn't I get? Yeah.
So I'm really liking how this is working. So at 10th level, beginning at 10th level, your patron gifts you more power. You see what I'm saying? It's those tentacles just coming up from behind your shoulders, and just it's the shadow arms going, yes, take the power.
Here, let me give you some more.
It's the Star Wars Emperor just being like, yes, the dark side.
Exactly.
But yes, it gifts you more power by making your control over shadows nearly perfect, allowing you to control up to 2 shadow servants at a time. See, you aren't getting more power. You are becoming more of a puppet. This is what I love about this particular type of concept, because warlocks, things like choosing a warlock is so, I don't want to say second hand, but like people choose it as a detail, right? It's like, oh, that's what I want to be, so I am. Mm-hmm. This is one of those times where it's like this build up, this lore is really showing like the fallacy, right? The players just be like, I just want to be a warlock. Just like the characters, like, oh yeah, I'll make this pact for this power, and the character sees it as, I'm getting more powerful, and in reality it's just the patron going, no, you're not. I'm just letting you, I'm doing more for you. And it's just that idea that they're giving into this when in reality they're not gaining anything. They're just the patron's basically just doing more for them, right?
There was this in Critical Role they had in one of their older seasons. There was this one warlock who went through the majority of the campaign as a certain type of warlock, and their warlock was always asking them to do stuff. A big part of how they had this orb that gave them a lot of their powers that they got stuff from. They finally get to the climax of this particular character's story arc and realize, oh, this a bad dude. This dude wants us to do some shady stuff. This dude wants us to blow up, kill, destroy everything. And so this warlock who'd been getting power from their patron for all this time had to decide, what am I going to do? Am I gonna keep going with them? Am I gonna sever ties with everything that gave me anything for so long? And they eventually severed ties, and they were like powerless for 3 or 4 sessions. They could basically do practically nothing until eventually they made a new pact with a new patron and were able to like continue on and stuff. So it was very interesting, but I definitely like that especially warlocks, I feel like, give a lot of role play into the character. They give a lot of like, you can do a lot more with that relationship with you and your patron, similar to how you can do it like as a cleric with you and your god, but
exactly.
it's a lot less straightforward. I feel like even if you have an evil god, it's pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah. Like, well, and again, this is why I like the idea that I like the idea when it's brought to the attention, like what the situation is, right? Like like an anime that did it really well was it wasn't really a warlock because he didn't really get powers, but similar to what this is actually doing, right? Like in this situation, you're meant to believe that you're getting more power, but in reality, the patron's just doing more for you. Is the way I look at this, and it reminds me a lot of Black Butler. The idea that
I watched that
now because the idea of like it was that was one of those ones where everybody was like, no one was confused on what the deal was, right? Everyone knew exactly, like both deal and dealer knew the terms. They knew exactly what was happening. But the idea that CL would be able to call upon his butler and get more and more from him to accomplish his goals, right? And the idea is it just gets closer and closer to that. This is a little bit different because it's more of a slow burn and you're getting methodical. Where in that one, whereas in Black Butler, it was I'm here until you accomplish said goal, and that's it.
Right.
But I'm talking about like in lore wise, I just like the idea of that this is pinpointing or at least showcasing that this isn't the best choice. Like it wasn't a good choice to do this, right? Like it's that fallacy of the mindset of what the character's going through, and it kind of highlights what players are doing.
Very much so.
I really like what's going on here, and I like how it's being written. Taking control over your shadow is nearly perfect control. I do like the idea of getting 2 servants at the same time. Also, when you take the attack action on your turn, you can make an additional weapon attack as a bonus action. You do not add your ability modifier to the damage of this attack. Okay.
So it's basically like there's a certain feature you can get for, I think it's like 2-weapon fighter or something like that allows you to do that.
Right.
But you don't need a second weapon. You can just do it with your main hand. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would my only thing is because you're getting the level up ability to do 2 servants, I would probably also limit this. I would leave it here. I just would also apply that to your shadow weapon only.
Oh,
same thing like we saw before. With the charisma or with the damage modifier.
I'm curious if that was if that's how they intend it to be.
Because that's what I would do. Yeah, so just like with the extra charisma damage that you get up here. Where was it? Yeah, when you get your weapon and you get your extra necrotic damage right there. I think that same rule should apply here. So when you make an attack action with your shadow weapon only, you can make this as a bonus weapon.
Got you.
Oh, it was intended that way.
Okay.
Cool.
Did I? Of course I did. Because I'm a goober. Yeah.
So okay. So yeah. So and I do like the idea that, or I do like that you don't add the modifier of damage, because it's just it's kind of like that, just quick additional like swipe attack, right? It's not like a pinpointed specific one.
Yeah.
So I always like having that little like extra bit right there. So, and then we go to 14th level. Okay, and I'm also glad that we're going past 10th level because a lot of subclasses tend to just kill themselves at 10th level.
Some of them are pretty short.
I absolutely hate that because to me, that's basically saying you gave up. And it's basically being like, well, you picked the main class. Like, isn't that good enough? Like, no, I picked this to the end. I don't like the idea that if at 10th level is where I peak at my specialty. That's nonsense. If I'm going to be a specialist and I'm going to go to 20th level and I'm going to be the absolute best named person at this thing, but you're telling me my uniqueness peaked 10 levels ago? Absolute garbage. Absolute trash.
Hecate says, "Stop reading his invisible lines. It's not okay." I will say a lot of what you're talking about, stuff not going past 10th or 14th level, that is a lot more to do with official D&D rather than like.
I mean, even 14th level makes sense. At least it gets you into that late game. But the one when they just decide that the main class is enough for late game, it's not. Like. Telling me that my subclass is all for early game and then no, your main class will take like that logic is just mind-boggling. I don't mind. I mean, I love it when it goes to 14th level, but those that end on 10th level, at least in terms of like official D&D, I'm just like, are you being lazy? You know how much money people pay for this shit, and you can't give me 2 more abilities?
Yeah, right.
You can't give me 2 more level ups? Are you fucking kidding me?
Come
right
on,
now?
Give me the rest.
Like, it doesn't even have to be like uber amazing shit. Just keep me going and being unique and awesome in the thing that I have spent my entire, player like history on. Let me get there. Because the thing is if it ends at 10th level, you know what that tells me? I better just fucking multi-class. Because then I'll get 10 more levels of upgrades
of other actual stuff
instead of just plateauing in the same boring class.
Like main class stuff. And some of that main class stuff people consider bread and butter, like
that's fine. And
for me,
sure
like Druid's 20th level capstone feature where you get unlimited wild shapes, like that's freaking that's almost worth.
But there are several subclasses that don't heavily rely on wild shape and therefore could be better
exactly
with something else.
Honestly,
right?
The only one I'd really do that with is Moon Druid, because Moon Druid, their whole thing is wild shape, and you get like some of the best ones too. So
yeah,
I'm here for it.
And to make a subclass, I always follow the level structure of the main class. Yeah,
and that's what I was referring to. It's like the main class gives you holes for the subclass features.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people I'm just going to fill whatever's there because it goes with everything else, because it fits into these puzzle pieces. So unless you redo the main class.
And this isn't a comment on people who do this.
For sure.
This is my comment purely on Wizards of the Coast and D&D in general. I've always felt like subclasses just never got fully rounded out. Like they're great, but realistically there's just a point to where it's kind of just like, I don't feel like I'm specializing anymore. I feel like I'm just now I got my specialties and that's it. Now I can just keep reading them. And come to think of it too, like at 10th level, if that's like the last like unique upgrade you get, because again, you get your class standards, right? But those are ones that you're going to be expecting, right? Like the ones that everybody's like, used to at this point. So that's 10 levels I now have to game and play with the same unique powers. Yes, I'm going to get the class standards, but all my uniqueness, I'm done, right? I don't grow in any way. And that's a long time. That's why I really do like it when they go to 14th level at least, because at least it's something to shoot for. And then those last 6 levels, at least that's such high level gameplay that you're probably more invested in the story that you can kind of get away with it. But 10 levels feels like such a long slog with not elevating in your class and in your specialty. But that's just a hot take from me. So I'm happy to see Shadow release at 14th level. Fire. Starting at 14th level, you've mastered the control of shadows of your own and your enemies. Your body starts to change your eyes to turn either purple, blue, or red. Your skin starts to become pale or grayish, emitting a ghastly aura of shadows emanating from your body. Interesting. So basically, your patron's showing up. He's basically that's his hand. I just assume like these like the shadows are just his, like the tendrils of one of his hands just gripping you. Like, yeah, I'm almost there. As an action, you create shadows to erupt from your body in 30-foot radius spheres centered on you. Each creature of your choice that you can see in the area must make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. I like that it's of your choice and not just every creature.
Right. Very much so.
On a failed save, a target takes 9d6 necrotic damage and is frightened for 1 minute, and half as much damage and is not frightened on a successful save.
That's still a lot of damage.
An affected target can repeat this save at the end of its turn, ending the frightening condition or the frightened condition on a success. You can use this ability once and regain the use of it at the end of a long rest, or if you expend 2 captured shadow spirits.
Interesting.
I
That's
like that.
cool because what
like
at 14th level, how many shadow spirits can you have? As many as your proficiency bonus?
Yep.
Let me look. 14, you get 5 at that point.
Wait, is it half? I thought maybe it's half.
I thought half was for how many attacks they get. That's half rounded down. It should be a rise, right?
Oh yeah. You hold spirit equal to your proficiency bonus. Yes, you were correct. Yeah, so their attacks are equal. So yeah, so you'll have how many at that point?
So you'll have 5 at 14th level. So you can have a total of 5. So you could use this feature once, and then technically
burn 4.
You could burn 4 to do 2 more times.
3 times. 3 fucking times.
And then you could do it 4 times once you get to 17th level. Because you get 6.
Reuse on costs is only used a few times in official D&D subclasses, but it's a good trick to pull out. Yeah. Interesting. So at this level, the 98 necrotic damage, is that enough for 14th level? 98?
All right, 14th level.
I mean, it doesn't feel like way off, but I'm trying to feel does it need to be like
So,
I don't think it needs to be a D12. I think that would be too much. Maybe a D10 or maybe a 10D8. I'm just really trying to do that math there and trying to figure out at 14th level, like.
So at 14th level, you can now cast 5th level spells. By the way, 5th level spell is the highest level spell you'll ever be able to cast as a warlock.
Okay.
So if I'm thinking about 5th level spells and like what 5th level spells have the ability to do, I have to look up some 5th level spells real quick to see that. But I feel like, because like Fireball, I think you might be right. I think it might need like a little more.
Even,
like
yeah,
a little
it's
more...
not. It's not far off. I just feel like at this point, with what we've been seeing, and with what we're trying to accomplish with this, I feel like, I mean, because they still get to save out of it, so they could still take up to half damage. I mean, you do get to do it a lot, so maybe that's where the balancing is coming from, because you have the potential to do this.
You can do it more than one time.
Like, you could just rapid fire this out.
Items, spells.
I mean, yeah, I don't dislike it.
All right. I wish I could filter by like damage dealing spells. That would be cool. Cone of Cold. That's a good 5th level spell.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, I was trying to think of
8d8 is Cone of Cold.
Okay.
It's just over that. I mean, I might go to 10.
I might go to 10d8 maybe, yeah. Just a flat, up to 80. Up to 80, I think 80 sounds like a good amount, So yeah, so really, I guess just one extra die. I mean, it's not really that far off. I guess it's actually pretty spot on. It just maybe just feels, I mean, because we don't usually deal with a lot of D8s as well.
So usually a lot of D6s, maybe some D10s.
Yeah, so maybe that's just where the balancing feels like. So yeah, so I guess it's not really that far off. So I'm trying to think here. So I don't want to do something to this spell. I'm trying to think of like the lore that we've gotten so far. The one thing that I would love to see incorporated with this, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it without making it overly complicated. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, this is such a cool spell, but I do feel like it could add, like there could be 1 or 2 things it could also do to help blend it in with the lore.
I do agree with that. I am not sure what that thing is yet.
I do. It's just one of those how to not make it complicated.
What's the energy you're trying to...
So essentially, I mean, I do like as a blast attack, doing 98 to anybody within 30 yards, like that's huge, right? So
yeah, because that's not just one creature. So Cone of Cold, granted, that is an area of effect.
Yeah, but this is everybody around you, right? So that right there just makes me not want to do anything additional, because if you're using it as a blast out, this is what you want. So the only thing I might even say, if you're going to add it to, like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, it should have like two options, maybe like two choices. You can either do this, which is the explosion, and it does this, or a secondary option. The problem is as a secondary option, it's nowhere near as beneficial as this one.
So you'd want to do this the majority of the time.
So I'm trying to
make it more of a choice. And I remember you talking about that a while back.
Or trying to blend them together, and what would blending them together would do is it would have to decrease how much damage output this has.
Okay.
So essentially, my original, like the way my brain works, my original idea was this is option A. You do a 30-foot radius blast out and do 98 damage to anybody that it touches.
Mm-hmm.
The other option would be that you blast this out, and that 30-foot centered on you becomes magical darkness that only you can see, or you and your allies, basically, because it says you can select. So basically, you can make a 30-foot sphere of magical darkness around you and your allies that they and you can see in. But adding that plus the damage, like plus 98, is a little bit much, right? But then the other option was you can either have a choice, right? Do the damage or make this bubble. The problem is making this bubble is nowhere near as good, right? That's just basically casting darkness. So what it would need to do is it would almost be like you can cast this, darkness will fall in the 30-foot radius, and a number of creatures you choose will get 98 damage divided amongst them. But that really, again, my problem is it really takes the oomph out of this.
I like the darkness vibe, but instead of, what if the choice wasn't whether you do the damage or not? What if the choice was you can choose them to be frightened, or you can choose them to be in darkness?
So I guess the other option too is like anybody hit by it also can just become blinded.
That was the other thing I was thinking. It's like
given the blinded condition for however many rounds.
Exactly. That could do the exact same thing.
Because that's the thing is like we have the darkness spell, but it's kind of like the Occam's razor. We got darkness spell, and everything else is kind of like had a way to be used again. But darkness just kind of was like there, but we haven't really reused us creating darkness. And that's kind of what I want to do, is like us create more darkness.
Think about, like, you could even flavor it kind of like you were talking about earlier when we were talking about the spell, instead of them being Branding Smite, instead of them being lit up, like you have them covered in darkness. Imagine if that's what happens. Like these shadows burst out from you and it envelops the target, doing the necrotic damage and blinding them because they are now enveloped in this.
They're literally encased in a coat shadow.
Exactly.
That would be kind of dope, actually, and they would be visible to everybody because they would have so they would have the same thing as we talked about before. They would have like the outline. That would be really interesting. So until they got out of it, until they like brushed the shadow off, basically.
And I think that would be a really cool option, because something Hecate mentioned is like he put frightened there because of the shadows. Yeah, the shadows get such a great benefit from.
And I 100% agree that they want the frightened.
Say you expend your last shadows doing this ability, then having them frightened is less advantageous for you.
Yeah,
right. So then choosing to have them blinded would help you and your allies even more. Right. Mm-hmm. So being able to say either they're frightened or they're enveloped in darkness would be able, like, either you can help out your shadows a whole bunch and give them advantage on all their attacks, or help out the rest. Exactly.
So blind them or make them afraid. Just that would be the choice. Make it simple. Is when using this, you can do the 98 necrotic damage, and you either choose, and this would be all or, this would be definitely not individuals. Like you choose who gets affected, but it's all or blinded.
You choose
or all frightened.
100%.
And that would just be it. That little thing, because it's still for 1 minute. So blinded for 1 minute, frightened for 1 minute. Both of those would give,
and they still get to save out of it.
Yeah, and those would give such a different level of combat advantage. And I think it would still fit very well into this lore
100%.
without making it complicated and without making it feel like this spell. I mean, that damage is what you're doing. You want the damage, the extra 1 minute fallout, of blinded or frightened is just to give you combat advantage after that. If you didn't take them down, you just want those extra couple rounds of advantage. So I think both of those options could be great. Yeah, I think that would make this a little bit better, is just giving the option of frightened or blinded, because both I think work for the build. It works for the lore,
yes,
and like what you just said, it works for situational. There's going to be a time where frightened is not in your best interest.
I'm out of shadows. Like, I've used all of them. I used my last 2 shadows to use this ability again.
Could be that, or again, if your shadows are already down and you're using this ability, and your shadows are already taking a lot of damage, and they're just not going to survive very much longer, the blinded could give you a better advantage on that. So yeah, that would be interesting. Let's see. Shadow release was made to scale late game. Also, the damage was put on a scale that Warlock level, but not to high, because you don't want to spam it on tons of spirits. Okay. And then did the frightened because it works great with the Shadow Servants, but okay, see what I mean. That would be dope. Glad you like the idea. That's good. That's good. That's what we're here for. Because again, I don't think we want to. Like I said, like, I don't want to take away the damage, because that's kind of what this whole thing is, right? It's like the big 1-2 punch. But the frightened condition is good, but I think my hold up is that we haven't seen us control shadow yet. Like, you can cast darkness early on, you can hold things in your shadow, but like what we talked about, we'd want to see Misty Step use shadows to be boosted, as just an option, right? You can use Misty Step normally, but if using shadows, it extends the distance, right? Because as much as you're saying that we're in the shadows, we don't, like, another thing we haven't seen, there's been no damage bonuses to being in shadows. Mm-hmm. Like, you can, like, again, so it's like I can control darkness, but if my whole deal is being in shadow, I feel like at some point I'd want to literally control the shadow, because at this point the only shadow control is I get to hold stuff in there and summon it, but I don't get to make a shadow bigger to make it easier for me to hide. I can't, like the psionics that we were talking about, I can't darken a shadow, like control light, to make it easier to hide. So in this case, I kind of just think that the blind would be the final icing on the cake to bring that full circle of being able to control darkness. Because that's just what I feel is the only thing I feel is missing out of everything we've read. The only thing I feel that honestly as a player is, out of all of this, where is shadow control? Like, because it keeps saying I get more control of shadows, but I'm not. I'm not actually in control of shadows.
Yes.
That's
and I totally what you mean. It's not like literal control of these shadows. There's this, speaking of Naruto, we were talking about earlier, there's this character, I forget what his name is, but his whole thing is anybody that steps on his shadow, he gets to control them. Like, they can't move unless he says so.
Oh, it's like paralyzing.
Basically. And so, like, but he can control his shadow, and he can, like, move his shadow, and he can sneak his shadow places. So he can make his shadow touch you without you knowing it, and then you're just frozen in place. You can't do squat. You are just stuck there. And so, like, I'd always thought that would be a cool ability to kind of transition into D&D, where you're literally controlling your shadow and you can do stuff with it to other people. But
that would be actually a really cool ability to add to this, where at like maybe like 6th or 7th level, like, being able to control your shadow in the sense of like something similar as you can make your shadow grapple the other person, in the sense, because it's like very minimal, but like, you could do like a save, versus DC or something, and if they fail, they lose 2 to their AC against you, because your shadow's holding them down, right? Like, that would be kind of a cool ability. I think, the idea that you could animate your own shadow, I think could be a good add-on. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the only reason why I want to see the blinded, is just because at the end, I just don't really feel like I'm controlling shadows as I am summoning shadow creatures. But again, I don't get to travel in shadows. I haven't seen, unless I'm being a rogue, which again, this is a warlock subclass, I don't get any like hide in shadows benefits, which you kind of would expect a little bit. You kind of expect me to like travel or hide or do something.
I will say at the very least, and you can flavor all of these things as your shadow abilities, but one of the spells that the one I actually the one he actually swapped out. What was that one called?
The original one was Dance Macabre, but he switched it out for Mislead.
So Mislead, basically what it does is, let me actually look it up so I'm not saying it wrong. So you become invisible. At the same time, an illusory double of you appears where you are standing. So it's almost like you melt into shadows.
It's like Flash Step.
Lightweight, but like there's a person there, so nobody knows you're gone.
Right.
Nobody knows you're gone. You're still looking there, standing around, doing whatever you're doing. But you, the real you, is in your shadow.
Cool
so
too.
It's almost like you. Like I imagine this for this character is it's like you swap with your shadow.
Yeah.
And it's like your shadow is now up and you're now down. So like that would be, it's not the same as just straight up hiding in shadows. And yeah, you're using a 5th level spell slot to do that, even though everything's 5th level at this point because you're a warlock. But still, I think this, I just realized, I don't know why this, everything as a warlock you cast at max level. So once you have access to 5th level spells, the second you cast inflict wounds, you're casting a 5th level inflict wounds. That's so stupid. That's so stupid. That's good. Crazy. I'm sorry. It's fine. That's why I love this spell list. So just so you know, I love this. I'm stealing this. I'm using this. Like I need this. I want to build like an NPC based upon
inspiring.
this.
I will say, it's very much the inspiration point for sure. It's definitely gonna. It's gonna get the point for being inspiring. That's for damn sure. But you know what also would be, this would be kind of weird. This might be just something that you get on level 3. It would be more narrative based. It wouldn't really be. I mean, it might be actually. So you were talking about how dude had an ability to where his shadow could stop people from moving. Mm-hmm. Imagine at like 3rd level or maybe higher. You can use your shadow weapon to attack a creature's shadow. And if you hit on a successful hit, like let's say you have a dagger, you can pin it to that spot just as if it were, just basically as if it were grappled. So it can attack, it can swing, but it can't move. It can't leave its, basically you would render its movement null. Until it either removed the dagger.
When you're grappled, your speed is 0.
Yeah, so that would be it. You get this. You get the same concept of you can still attack, you can still defend, but unless they remove the dagger,
disadvantage on dexterity saving throws.
How cool would that be? Like just being able, again, the idea that I want to be able to control more shadows, having my shadow dagger, I'd have to give up my weapon. I'd have to like stab it, and so it's kind of giving up, my powerful weapon. But combat control, I could just stab that, run away, and have my team just wail on it.
You have other things because you are a caster. A lot of people. One of the staples in Warlockdom is Eldritch Blast, right?
Yep.
And it's just basically an energy blast that, and as you level up, it's super cool. You don't get normal cantrips when they scale. You get an additional damage die when you hit every 5th level. This one, you don't get an additional damage die. You get an additional beam. So that means you can choose different targets if you want to. So at 15th level, you got 3 targets you can shoot at, doing this stuff. So I don't have my sword, but I can still blast some people. I can still do some things.
Like the combo, use Misty Step to get behind the enemy, stab his shadow, use Misty Step again, and then frighten him with your ability to frighten him, and then he can't move. So he can't run away from you, and then you send your spirit after him, so he just can't move. Your 2 spirits are just wailing on him with advantage.
Let's go.
So that would be. So again, I think that it's not lacking. It's just that as a player, it really has all of the things telling me I should have some sort of manipulative control over shadows, either my own or somebody else's. And outside of the shades, I kind of don't. And that's the only thing that at the end, if I were to finally like play this character all the way through, that would probably be the only thing as a player I'd be like, yeah, I wish I would have had that. Just it'd have been the only like regret, I guess, of it would have been kind of cool to be able to move through shadows or control them or manipulate them. But nothing is out of place. Nothing is outside the lore. It just almost seems like the lore suggests there would be one more option.
Yeah. And so Hecate mentioned that a lot of this is just because his inspiration came from the show. And in the show, It's not really centered around him being some shadow master. It's to be honest, it's crazy. The entire
I'm gonna have
show.
to watch this. I'm gonna have to watch a couple episodes
Up until the very last, until the end of the show. None of what he's doing really has anything to do with shadows. It's super random. He was almost building like an assassin build. Like he was really fast. He was really good at doing all this other stuff. And then he goes into this weird dungeon to like level himself up, right? And then he gets this ability. Like it's his new class that he has access to or whatever. And it's called Necromancer. And he's like, why? You know, so that's
and again, this is just more of this is what we do in terms of like lore, right? We look at the lore and see where it goes, and every DM is going to take lore differently, right? Like I said, this is a beautiful build. It goes well with the lore. This is just my mind took me into that direction of where's my shadow control? Very much, but again, I get that. If I knew the show better, that probably wouldn't have come up. I'm just looking at it from if I were reading this from D&D, I'd be confused. Like Wizards of the Coast, I'd be like, I'm confused.
Why would you not?
But it makes more sense knowing where, the inspiration comes from. So it's not a mark against it. So it's called solo leveling. So what it was, the MC, main character. I thought literally MC from solo leveling was the name of the anime. I thought it was just a weird, like, I literally read this, I'm like, MC of solo leveling. I'm like, that must be a very weird translation. MC, because they have those like weird like name translations.
They do that all the time.
So I was just like, MC, like that just must be main character of solo leveling. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out too. Interesting. So yeah. Okay. The scoring this is gonna be hard. This is a good one.
I like this one a lot. This has been one of my favorites.
I will say, look. So as is, just flat out as is. I don't need it. This doesn't fill any gaps in high point. So there will be the 1 point for that. It does get the inspiration point because it does give me ideas. Does it give me ideas for high point? I gotta be consistent here. Does it give me anything to add to high point? Because I don't need this as a whole. It does inspire me because High Point does need a much more refined version of a Shadow Warlock. So this does inspire me to improve my personal Shadow Warlock. Because there's a lot of good ideas in here that really would benefit some NPCs. Like straight up.
I can see that. I could for sure see
even though this isn't officially from Hecate, but stopping someone in their tracks by stabbing their shadow into a surface, that's happening. That now exists in High Point. That is now a shadow assassin. like being able to just like run by and just that's it.
That would be so sick. I'm here for it.
And again, because of the idea that it has to be the shadow weapon, so it can't be like it'd be too powerful to be a ranged weapon.
Would you allow their shadow weapon to be a throwing dagger that they could throw?
Yes.
Into someone's shadow?
Yeah, I would like. It just wouldn't be like a. Like
it's
not
gonna be like. Yeah.
But it could be ranged. It just wouldn't be like a missile. But yeah. Just the idea of being able to like stop
throwing
someone.
Range isn't that far. It's like 20 feet.
Also, the idea of another option of another power being able to control your shadow and use it in combat to gain combat advantage by controlling your shadow. That's just either by manipulating them or something. That's definitely going to happen too. MC of Solo Leveling is definitely an anime style name. That does sound like
100%. 100%.
Okay, so all right, so it will get the inspiration point. I will give it that because it has allowed me to expand High Point. It will lose 1 point because I just don't need this as a whole. In terms of balancing, it's not going to lose any points for balancing. I don't think we found anything that was out of balance.
Yeah.
And I think for me, and again, this is just a High Point approach. I know it's primarily focused on the anime, so I won't give it a negative for that because I know that we've talked about before about if things are basically like a direct rip we usually
right
kind of take a point off for the lack of creativity, but there's a lot of creativity that went into transitioning.
Yeah,
this
I will tell you this. This is far from a direct rip. This is...
So the one point that I will take away because of all of that, though, because I don't know the source, it's not a direct rip, but I will just say that the one thing that I have to just accept in terms of like the high point rating is there were just too many mentions of I'm trying to find the option here or where it says that. So intertwining with shadows, more power, control over shadows, mastered the control over shadows. I have to take a point off because it's just, for me,
that doesn't feel like what's happening.
From the player point of view, it's not that it sounds bad. I just can't get over the fact that I really don't have any control of shadows. That's just... I know it's a pedantic naming structure thing, but it is... I don't want to call it a disappointment. That's not the right word. It's not... It's just one of those things where it's not a letdown. It's just... It was an expectation.
Like, lightweight.
It was an expectation that didn't give it. Now, granted, what's funny is if that's part of the lore... Where when you're making the deal with the patron, he's like, oh yeah, you'll have power over shadows, and then you don't get power. Like, that would be hilarious, and I would fucking love that.
That would give it a point.
But as a player, I feel like I'm constantly waiting for a power or a skill set I'm not gonna get.
I do hear that.
But with that being said, I can't take anything else out of it, so that's gonna give it a rockin' 8 out of 10. It's really only losing 2 points because I don't need it itself, and it's misleading to me. It's just, I feel like it needs just actual control of a shadow for me to be like, okay, I'm fine. Like, that's my personal opinion. But yeah, hardcore 8 out of 10. I think this would be really fun to play from a player point of view.
Yes, I want to do it so bad.
This would be so interesting to actually build out. Now, Cat Darkness did mention something previously that I don't know if you can elaborate a little bit more for us, but you made a mention of there not being a lot of room for like flavor texting, and I didn't know if you meant that in the literal sense of like just adding in like flavor, like this kind of stuff where it's like background lore, or if you were mentioning that you don't feel like there's a lot of room to broaden the idea. Like, did you mean that in terms of it
like
feels
customize your experience? Like every Shadow Warrior is going to be the exact same Shadow Warrior.
Correct. And I'm curious, is that what you meant? Because I'm actually really because if that is what you meant, if it feels like this isn't as designer, you know what I mean? It's not as custom designable. It's more of a cookie cutter. It would be interesting because here we go. I mean that the features don't tend to have a lot of flavor text. The main places do it in the name of the feature and the first sentence. Oh, okay. So you just mean just physically, it just doesn't have a lot of
just present. Because there are like when I look through like the books and stuff like that, most of the time when it's starting to describe a new feature, it gives you a brief visual picture of what this thing is kind of going to be looking
and
like.
It talks about what it can do, or it says an example,
to
or puts it in situ. Right? It gives you like an in situ situation.
Yes.
Versus just saying, "Hey,
this is what you can do."
So totally understand that. Yeah, at first I thought you were like structurally you got to be economical with your words. Yeah, and at first I thought you were trying to. I was worried that you were hinting that this had like no customization, like what Kage was saying, where every single person that picks it up is just gonna get the exact same thing over and over. And I was like, I wanted to understand that, but no, you're absolutely right. It is just kind of direct, but that's good for homebrew review. It's kind of nice. I mean, a lot of fluff doesn't really help in terms of flavor text, but yeah, I think that's also dependent upon like how do you want to inspire people? Do you want to give them the tools and let them run with it, or do you want to?
I will say
give them some ideas.
Both have been very valuable to me in different situations for different reasons. Like seeing somebody write flavor text and basically see what their envisioning of this was gives me an idea of the direction I want to go, even if it's different than the direction the flavor text goes.
It helps with context, like what we've talked about before.
But sometimes the ability itself without that distraction gives me the ability to let my mind go the way it would have gone otherwise, instead of being like, oh, that's what they intended, let me do something along those lines. I can take it my own way and articulate it however.
And Darkness brings up a really good point too. Being economical with your words in general is a good goal with 5th edition, because again, having too much flavor can bog down the game, right? So if you're trying to tell people, if every time you say I'm using this power, you have to give it an explanation, it's very difficult, right? Whereas with this, it's more of a, oh, cool, I'm doing this. I killed that guy. Cool, I got his soul. You can, in the game, you can talk if it's timed for that. But the idea is, I know what I'm doing. I'm getting that. There's not a lot of this, oh, what creature is he? What's this? You don't have to ask 5 questions to get the point.
Like, you can set a precedence. Like, the precedence that I swing my ring all the time is just something that's been ingrained into that character. And so the precedence of how your particular character sucks in these souls. Maybe some people are like, you're dumping it into the shadow. Maybe this person, like, they literally suck it in and then it goes and flows. Like, however you want to do it, you can set that precedence, and then that's just it can flow from there.
Yeah. And I do agree too that a lot of the times having like that flavor, having the lore set up right at the beginning is really good. Sets the stage, gives you an idea of what you want to do. We can come back here, by the way. Sets the stage, gives you an idea of what's to come, and gives you a starting platform to let you build upon, like what we do, right? We say, hey, this is what we were given, and then this is what we have inferred from it. The other thing too that I like one of the things I really like about 2nd edition, and I pointed this out when we were going over the Psionics Handbook, is it doesn't do the full like 5th edition doesn't do a big picture right at the beginning, but it does give you a paragraph or two. It does give you some sort of like starting point. But I really liked how 2nd edition will sprinkle in every now and again, especially when it's content relative, a little bit of like what you guys are calling flavor text, right? Like an example or an in-game result or an intended meaning, especially for things that are a little bit more complicated. Like when we were talking about the psionics and how the combat works, and how it would give an example of, how you could use it or why you would use it. And those are the ones that I tend to like, is when it's sprinkled in every now and again. I don't want one for every feature, for everything. I really like setting the lore up right at the beginning, but I do kind of like every now and again being like a little highlight of, hey, this is what we mean, or this is how it could be used, or, give it some more of that in-game context can be good. And that's how I like to see it every now and again. But I do agree, having too much really can just bog down gameplay. It can bog down, player understanding. And I agree. 5th edition really did. I mean, I don't want to give them too much credit. I mean, they did a good job at it, but it was their intent. They did what they intended to do. Yeah. Which was really try to streamline it. And that's really the best thing really the best way to say it, is they streamlined so much of that.
Legit.
But yeah, that was a fantastic read. I really like that. I would like to see like how that would actually play out in a campaign. Especially, I would like to see the party that this would go with. You know what I mean? Because it's always fun to read these and to see these like subclasses, but then you also have to extrapolate like what would this be?
Who's traveling with this person,
group, right? Yeah. Like because you talk about synergy a lot, right? And that's the other aspect about these about building classes that we've seen, is when you build a class, it can be very difficult not to be completely self-serving. And what I mean by that is not like selfish, but self-serving as in think that the class has to be able to survive on its own. Right? And so not have major glaring spots. Like, well, I can't have that major, like that major defense lack because of XYZ reasons. It's like, but we don't build characters to, I guess the idea is people don't build classes to need other classes. If that makes sense, right? Like, you're not going to play most people don't play solo games.
Right.
But like, you build classes to be balanced enough to where you don't need another class. And I know why, right? You don't want one class specifically designed to only work best with another class because you shoehorn it. But it would be nice to see sometimes like those subclasses kind of have those, those considerations in mind, right? In terms of how is this going to work with somebody else? How are these powers going to affect your party? We did see towards the end that big blast, right? You can choose who it hits. That's great. But it was the only time we really saw a power specifically discuss or at least hint at being synergistic with the party. your creatures aren't really synergistic. Like they're great, but they don't do anything for the party.
Yeah.
Your frightening spell doesn't really do much for the party because your specters are the only things that have it.
I think I'm not 100% sure,
but
I
would
think
the party also get it?
You have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls while the source of your fear is within line of sight.
Right.
So as long as these enemies can see you, all these bad guys will have disadvantage attacking your friends.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So
it's somewhat helpful, but
not as much as them having advantage. Like
exactly.
Like the ghouls. So yeah, that would just be the thing of like that's one thing I think we have noticed is it is interesting to see when either planning has been put into place for that, or it just so happens that you look at that and go, oh, that would be great if you also ran a paladin, or imagine a rogue. Like that's what I like to do is like imagine what would I play alongside this? Like if a rogue, and that's maybe again the idea of controlling shadows. If I was playing with a rogue, I can't do anything to help the rogue, even though I'm, I have the shadow of the monarch or the monarch, like.
I mean, if they're good at hiding in shadows, you could maybe make some more shadows. That's
the thing. You don't. That's the thing. I would want to look at like how can I benefit the party more than just myself. So that would just be another like for any of you guys out there, if you guys are wondering like how to go about it, or another way to look at it is when you're building these out, also try to ask yourself what party is this with? What other people? What would a wizard benefit or do with this class, right? What would another wizard, what would a rogue work with this class with, right? How would a paladin, how would a barbarian synergize with this class? And not every class has to synergize with the other, right? Like barbarians and wizards don't have to synergize. But if you think that this is going to be on a standard campaign, there are going to be other players. You don't want this to be that standout character that really never does anything for the party and just kind of just like, hey guys, I got my spells, I got my thing, I'm gonna be over here doing my thing, right? Like not saying not saying that this particular one we just read has any of those issues, but kind of just workshopping here for future reference.
100%. No, I get that.
If you guys have have any interest in broadening how you guys create your things, I always love putting them through multiple scenarios. And just things like that, asking yourself those questions of, what does the rest of the party look like? How does this work in combat? How is
could
this
I be helpful?
Yeah, how is this going to affect the plot, right? If you have a campaign and the party has their own plot line, but how is the Shadow Monarch going to affect the party, right? Like sometimes it could be a reputation thing. Maybe you can't go certain places because you have a mark on you, or maybe it's the Shadow Monarch, takes favor because of the people that you run with, right? So just this little things that you can ask yourself to better give yourself an idea of what direction you want to take it.
For sure.
Let's see. I'm done with the eminence of Shadow subclass. I called Eminence for a fighter that is similar to Eldritch Knight, but much more fun and interesting just doing pictures of and music for it. Interesting. Okay. I'd be down to see another Shadow. So do you have are you intending to have like a whole list of just like different Shadow subclasses?
That would be sick.
Like he's saying he has another one for fighter. So like a Shadow fighter.
I genuinely think the sorcerer and the monk Shadow subclasses need to be done better. The stock ones that are in 5th edition, I want to redo those myself. But
yeah,
if you had a whole Shadow.
That would be dope. Yeah, a whole series.
Please, sharing is caring. That's how I feel about it.
And Cat Darkness, I am so glad you just said this. Thank you so much. That is one of the most like epiphany, like inspiring things I think we've had in chat in a long time. Being able to call something done is a healthy, creative ability. When it comes to improving your skills, sometimes moving on to the next project is more useful than tweaking the same one for a long time. Absolutely. I probably worked on High Point for a solid 4 years before I learned this. Once I learned this, the acceleration of how I built out High Point was so much better, right? Because the idea that it just that idea, it is so healthy to just be able to be like, I'm done with that. It's good. It's good as is. It's good enough. It's like when I release my music, right? There's a point at which, if you're a musician out there and you're trying to, if you ever wonder, should I release my music or when's the best time to? The time was yesterday. Because it's literally just a game of right time, right place. So if you haven't released your music, the time was yesterday because your day probably already passed, right? But the idea is just, it's also that mindset of the song's never going to get better. And I had to learn that before I released my music, of just like, if you don't like it, just write another song. Same thing with D&D, right? If you're building these things and it's good enough or it's getting there, but you're not happy with it, you don't have to be happy with it for it to be complete, right? And who knows? Maybe you call it complete, maybe you move on, and then later down the road, in situ, it's being worked on or it's being utilized, and you find a flaw in it. You're like, no, I don't really like how it is. You can always update it, but you don't have to continue working on it. So thank you so much. That was such a good a point to be made. You got to be able to just put it behind you.
Facts. 100%.
Having a good mix of how I can help features and time to show off features is a good idea. That's a great way to say that. How I can help versus how do I show off, right? Because again, everybody wants to show off and everybody deserves to show off in their specialty. But having that mix of, again, and help doesn't necessarily mean being a supportive character. Help can mean giving someone else advantage. It can help mean being able to do healing, or
help
it can
mean tanking damage.
Yeah, just
hold the aggro.
It.
Yeah,
right. Like absolutely, that idea is such a good one. It doesn't need to be 50-50, but it's a good thing to consider. Yeah, it does not have to be 50-50, and it could just be, you can not have one ability, but that ability could be just so good, right? Like again, imagine the one we just reviewed, having the Shadow Warlock be able to cast magical darkness that he can pick and choose who gets affected by. That could be your only party ability, but that is so devastating that it's good enough.
And it can ebb and flow. Like, there'll be some combats where you show off more, and there'll be other combats where you support more, just depending on the situation, depending on what's around. This guy's out here in maybe in like a heavenly realm. You're probably not going to be able to use your shadows nearly as effectively as other things, but...
And Hecate, I totally understand. It is more of an anime subclass. It just happens to have shadow in the name. I totally get it. Like I said, it is a pedantic reason. I fully understand that it is true. It is creatively true, not just true as in a direct ripoff, but it is creatively true to the source material. I don't want to take that away from you. You did exactly what you set out to be.
You just called it the Necromancer Warlock.
Yeah, it's just I just got hung up on that name just because I get hung up on names. Like that's a high point issue that I have. It's an issue that I have in life, but it's definitely something that I do in high point. Words matter, and my players have learned that the hard way, and sometimes not the hard way, but a lot of the times the hard way.
The fun way.
Hey, it's good, but yeah, no, don't feel bad because we took it that way. I'm just giving my honest opinion again because you even mentioned that this is designed to be usable, so giving you that insight that people may be anticipating a certain power and not see it. You know what I mean? So
right.
It could just be an option. Darkness, I've been doing an ooky spooky subclasses. I made a spooky robe subclass not too long ago. I can throw in submissions too. If you like, it's real short.
Please and thank you.
You can throw in as many of those submissions as you would like.
I'm here for it.
Like the more submissions we have, the happier we are. The next one, Eminence, is great with the party and in combat equality. I believe. Can't wait to show you all. That'd be cool too. Yeah, the Shadow Fighter. That would be kind of cool.
That I'm very excited for.
It'd be so awesome if to get like a couple of those, like the Shadow Warlock, the Shadow Fighter, or Shadow Rogue, like get a bunch of those and actually do like a whole campaign where like you are essentially like a task force of the Shadow Monarch. Like all of you are like his minions. Mm-hmm. So you could start the campaign where you all become summoned by the Shadow Monarch. You are all like, previous adventurers that, he took their souls, and now he's resummoning you to do his bidding. So
what would be interesting? That would be an interesting dual class adventure. Imagine if you all get to be a Shadow Warlock and another class. And you get to choose what that other class is. So you're all his minions, but you're also all unique as well. And so you can kind of like go through, so you don't feel like you're all doing the same thing all the time. It's just...
Yeah. That might be overpowered with these spells, though. Like that might be...
That would be a little crazy.
Can you imagine that if you had 5 people, they could all summon 2 spirits onto the battlefield?
Shoot. And anything that's frightened, they all get advantage on. You just got like a little mini army of just... But see, that's exactly... imagine it would be that powerful, but like this would be for, like you're talking about a certain campaign where everybody starts off. Imagine what they're fighting is very resistant to that stuff. So like
you need
they're all resistant to necrotic damage or something. So yeah, you're doing all this craziness, but you're gonna have to do a little bit more work to fight your way through. But interesting, very interesting.
Actually, so Eminence of Shadow is another anime. So I thought that the Shadow Fighter, the Eminence of Shadow, was another one based off of this. No, it's just a different anime and a whole different subclass based.
Is the anime called Eminence of Shadow?
That's what Hecate's saying. Is definitely watch the Eminence of Shadow. It's a great anime.
Hold on, I gotta look that up because I've never heard of.
God, do I have to make another channel in the Discord for anime talk? Is that what you guys want? Like, I mean, I'm dead serious actually, because when I first made the Discord, I went through so many revisions before I published it and made it live, in terms of like what I felt I wanted a community, like especially as it grows, to have. And the biggest thing is, the Discord is not meant for the community we have. It's meant for the community we will have. Like there's obviously a lot more that's not being used. And the thing is I don't want to have a channel for absolutely everything, because I know that just gets overwhelming and then nobody wants to, click
use
through
any of the things.
But I also don't want just one channel where everything happens, right? That's why I have a community chat just for everyone to chat. I have an entire section just for the stream, right? If you want to submit stuff, that's away from the community chat, right? There's a game chat just for when I stream games, right? Because I feel like those are two different things. I don't need one for every single game. I just need one for my game stream, one for the D&D stream. There's one for people to talk about their own homebrewing, not on stream, but just to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
There's the...
To develop it.
Yeah, the one to talk about gaming sessions, like actual campaign sessions just that happened. People can talk about it from DM point of view, from player. Like, I feel like those are good categories, and like I could talk about an anime one, right? I could just like a game one. I could just bring up one, but I don't want it to just be one where people are just posting titles of anime and no one ever reads it.
Yeah.
But how likely are people going to go and chat about anime in a D&D Discord, right? Like, those are the questions that I have.
That's fair.
Is like,
That's
would it
fair.
be a good idea to have stuff? But then again, we have a channel for this, though, because these are D&D inspirations. We have a channel for that.
Okay.
I mean, it's not the same thing as sharing an anime you like, but saying, hey, this anime is what inspired me to make this, would be something to post in the D&D Inspirations channel. It's more for artwork. It was meant for artwork. But,
Right.
It could just be in general for that. So
yeah.
I don't know. You guys let me know.
It's not a bad idea.
How that should work. That's kind of the stuff that we have to do in terms of the roadmap and learning how we want to structure the Discord. Because I don't want it to be 150 channels that no one ever reads, but I also don't want 3 channels that you have to scroll for 15 minutes just to figure out what's being talked about, right? Those are the two things that I'm trying to balance right now in the Discord.
I think we have a fairly decent balance of that so far.
And of course, the tertiary, the third leg to that chair that I'm trying to balance out is making it I just had the word and I lost it. Intuitive.
Yeah.
Like, I want people to be able to log into the Discord and just, it makes sense, right? Oh, that's for the stream. That's where I submit stuff. That's where I talk to people. Those are the those are the voice chat rooms. Like, that's what I want. I want people to just go into the Discord, and it's not like, well, what's where, and do I go? Like, I've been in Discords like that where I have zero idea what's what. And my biggest thing is just being able to have people come into the Discord and go, oh, I know what chat I'm going to talk to today. Like, that's my biggest thing. So I could really definitely use your guys' help. We do have a suggestions channel for things that could, for suggestions to improve the stream, to improve Discord, to improve YouTube. That one is just like, again, it's a non-live channel. Doesn't go to live here. It's just for you guys to be like, hey, I noticed you guys do this, you should try this, or hey, we'd like to see this on stream, or hey, we noticed that your microphone's like this, you should try these settings. Like, suggestions in terms of how to make things better, not suggestions for what to talk about. That's a different channel. So I hope the Discord's working out. We're steadily growing, which is nice to see, but
100%.
I really want to know what you guys think, because it's there for you guys, not for me. So maybe in your suggestion channel, you have a monthly vote for a new channel. If you get engagement on it, it'll reveal the actual need for. Ooh, that's a unique idea. Yeah,
interesting.
So do like a poll where it's like, hey, like every now and again, if we've had enough discussions about something, just throw a poll out and be like, hey, do you guys want an anime channel? Like, yeah, so that would be cool. I like that. Thank you. Awesome. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for now. I think that's a pretty solid stream. I'm 2.5 hours.
We did good.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, that's gonna be us for today. So outro time. Been a minute since I did an outro. Also making a homebrew spell list, but not finished. Awesome. Always love a good homebrew spell.
Yes.
I haven't had a homebrew spell in a minute. Well, we had Crux for Crest to cheat.
Oh yeah, that one too.
That was the last spell we did.
That was a hefty one too.
Hecate, you were so very welcome for the homebrew review. Thank you for the submission. Like
Truly.
Really, you guys have no idea how much it means that you are submitting your stuff for us. I mean, we understand how, not everybody wants their stuff read out loud. Not everyone wants their stuff publicized to the public like this, but not everybody wants to hear feedback. You know what I mean? So it's amazing that you guys are here with us, that you want this kind of feedback. We're hoping that it's coming across really well and positive. Again, all of our goals are not to tell you how to do it or to get you to do what we say. Our hope is to inspire you and to get you to the end goal that you want, whether it's using our ideas, being inspired by your ideas, or making our ideas allow you to be like, no, my idea is what I want, right? Like, even if it's, us talking to you just so you can confirm your own. Like, that's what we're here for. We're so happy that you enjoy it. And yes, please keep those submissions coming, because we are just... I am so happy that we have so many right now. I can't tell you guys how much that is just so awesome. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us today. That's going to be it. Hecate, thank you very much for the submission. Cat Darkness, thank you so much for showing up. It's been fantastic seeing you. It's always good when you guys come and keep us company. I didn't see anybody else in there today.
Hoylepa was here for a little bit.
Oh, Hoylepa did show up. Yeah, I did.
Yep.
Yeah. My bad. Hoylepa, you were there. Thank you so much. Hope you have a good morning. I didn't see Cosmic. We didn't see Invent.
I don't know if we have the ability to do this, but one of our other followers is streaming right now. And I don't know if we have the ability to raid people or
who is streaming?
It's Big Dungeon Energy.
Oh, actually, yeah, we can do that.
Big Dungeon Energy
raid out
is
real quick
up right now and just chatting. They got 9 people, but
yeah, no. We'll definitely do that. We have. Thank you so much for. We'll have to keep. We haven't done that yet, so thank you so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, she'll reappear at some point in the timeline. Well, Darkness, we will be watching our shadows for you.
Yes, indeed.
If you remember my thing and I'm not here, feel free to ping me with the VOD or something. Absolutely. So yeah, if you're okay with that, what we can do is when we've slotted somebody, we always post every week. We post an update on the upcoming items, especially if we've re-slotted anybody for new submissions. So you'll get a ping on that one, and then the day of we can also ping you if we don't see you online. We'll also ping you and let you know that we're doing it. And then after the fact, you also get pinged with your with the score as well as a link to the VOD. So it doesn't have the link to the VOD normally, but we can link it for you.
I've been doing that lately. The one I just posted today has the link to it.
And there you go. So yeah, if you check out the Discord, you'll be able to see you check your replies most commonly. Perfect. So yeah, you'll be able to see an example of that in the Discord. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming with us. I'm in a lot of Discords, so yeah, I totally understand.
I know what the pain is. I gotta have folders from my
but
Discords. They
will be direct pings for you. So yeah, we'll get you in on that. But yeah, thank you guys so much. It's been a fantastic Monday. I hope you all had a great weekend. I hope you all have a great week ahead of you. We will be back on Friday for deeper discussions where... Oh, yes, we will be doing the High Point Psionicis build. So Kage will finally be able to build a High Point Psionicis. It's going to be a really special episode because we are going to be doing a character build from the point of view of a new person coming into High Point. So again, Kage's been with me. It's not going to be the exact conversation, but essentially what I want to do is kind of give you guys an insight on how I bring on a new player, what kind of questions I ask, and how I let them build up the character to tell me where to place them in High Point. And we'll kind of just give you guys an insight to that. So eventually we'll lead into actual High Point gaming. But otherwise, that's going to be us for the rest of the night. We're going to go ahead and raid out. This is going to be our first time raiding out to one of our followers, another DM, a fantastic person named Big DM Energy. She's awesome. She does a lot of streaming for her games, and I think she's just chatting right now. So we're going to go ahead and raid out. Thank you, everybody. Real quick, if you have any information that you want to submit to us, any ideas, homebrews, or all of that, you can submit that through the Discord. I will post the link in the chat right now. And if you liked anything that you saw, you missed anything on this VOD, mod, or if you want to see any of our other ones, you can check out our YouTube channel. That link is also in chat. So I will give you guys a second to save or click on those, and then we will go ahead and raid out to Big Dungeon Energy. Thank you all so much. It's been fantastic.
We really had a good time being here.
That's going to be us, guys. Cheers.
Deuces, my friends.
Boom. Did that work? Y'all gone?
It says Vortex is rating. Well, I still see us.
Oh, we're rating in 80 seconds. Oh, okay.
Is that what it is? It's filling up? Is that the meter? Oh yeah, the little purple bar. I see.
Oh, you guys see it? Okay, I didn't realize. Okay, this is my first time doing it. I thought it was just going to be instantaneous. All right, guys. So,
that's why, because it says leave, and I didn't realize you can, like, if I want to stay, I can stay.
Yeah, you can stay with us. All right, guys.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah, we're going to be going and we're going to be raiding out to Big Dungeon Energy here in 1 minute. So hopefully you stay at least just to pop in and do a raid with us. That'd be really fantastic. If you just give them, a big hello. Follow them if you like what they're doing. They are, another person that does a lot of D&D content, so please do that. Please at least give them a hello for me and let them know that they got a raid, because this will be our first time, and they're a really cool person. They really recently joined
they
us,
get some good content
and
too.
They're in the Discord as well, so if you like them and you like anything that they're doing, you'll also be able to hit them up there. But 30 more seconds. I'm just trying to waste time here. I don't want to just be quiet because people are waiting to raid out. I'll have to remember that, though. I'm definitely gonna have to remember that raiding is 80 seconds, or I'll have to see if I can
bring
my own
down.
Bring my own
timer down. Okay.
But legit. All right. Well, that is going to be us. We are now down to 10 more seconds, y'all. So thank you so much. Remember to give Big Dungeon Energy a hello from me. It's been fantastic, and thank you guys so much. Cheers. Gone. And we're in.
Okay, got it. All right.
5 viewers, dude. I just rated it. That's not bad.
I'm worried that she can hear me.